I call this a regular meeting of the Villa Park Planning and Zoning Commission to order. With Chairman Whitehurst not here, I entertain a motion to name a Chairman Pro Tem.
I'd like to make a motion to have Jason Jarrett stand in as our Chairman Pro Tem.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Jackson?
Yes.
Orlowski?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Bello?
Yes.
Lunenga?
Yes.
Rickel?
Yes.
Romano?
Yes.
And I will abstain. The motion passes. Meeting is in session. Let's see. So first order of business will be approval of minutes for March 8th, 2018. Do we have any questions or comments on the minutes? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'm going to make
All right.
all of them tonight.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from our March 8th meeting, 2018.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Any questions or comments on the motion? Roll call vote. Jackson?
Yes.
Orlowski?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Bello?
Abstain.
Lenenga?
Yes.
Rickel?
Yes.
Romano?
Abstain.
And I too vote yes. With that, the motion passes. We'll now enter the public hearing section of our hearing. See a lot of people here this evening. I imagine some of you will want to speak. If you've got the agenda in front of you, it has an order that we follow. If you don't have it in front of you, I'll go over it briefly. We will start with presentation of the petitioner. We'll move into staff input, and then public participation and questions. That's where anybody from the public wishing to speak will have their opportunity to speak. And then questions from the commission, closing comments of the petitioner. Then we'll close the public hearing, discuss, and vote if we get to that point. If you're think you're going to speak tonight, what you should do now is stand, be sworn in. We have a court reporter here. Please don't talk over each other. You need to come up and to the podium to speak. But if you think you're going to speak, now is the time to stand and be sworn in. She'll do that everybody at once, and then when you come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. All right, petitioner, whenever you're ready.
Great. Thank you very much for coming. I'm going to move these out over here so everybody can kind of see what we're doing here. So bear with me. I'm going to face this towards our board members, and then I'll, as we kind of go through them, I'll show everybody as we do. We were going to do a PowerPoint, but these are a lot less technical. All right, so as you all are aware, there was a gas station over at 324 Central. And I bought that last year, or I should say Karen and I bought that last year. There's a picture. And this is basically what it looks like. Okay. So when we bought it, we were under the understanding that there was a couple underground gas tanks there. So I hired an environmental company, Eagle Environmental, and we worked with the fire marshal, and we worked with the Illinois EPA, and started testing and started digging. 3 tanks became 7. And apparently what happened back in the day was when a tank didn't work, instead of pulling that tank out, they just put another one in. And when that tank didn't work, they put another one in. With no, no thought that eventually these are going to degrade, they're going to leak, they're going to contaminate the soil. So voluntarily, we decided, let's get these tanks out. We love the property. We live directly across the street at 329 Park. So this is our view from our front porch. We look at this from our front porch, and that's what really interested us in this property and gave us this vision of what we wanted to do. So voluntarily, we contracted with Eagle Environmental to come in and start digging tanks, and once you step into it, there's no turning back. So this is a 6,000 gallon tank that was under the ground. We pulled that. A couple of 3,000 gallon tanks, a couple of 1,000 gallon tanks. If you guys can all see this, this is a semi truck. We loaded 25 of these of contaminated soil and brought it to a hazmat site. We have a $200,000 contract to decontaminate this soil, and that's what we're working at. And at the end of $200,000, when all is spent, this is what we're left with. It looks the same as when we started. But what our vision is to turn what was at one time a contaminated site into a family-oriented, green, healthy, fun space. And that's what we have here. So with the 2 buildings, we want to put on the one side an ice cream shop. We'll call it Creme. We're open to some name suggestions and ideas if anybody has any. And in the other building, what we want to do is have that be kind of our beverage center. We'd like to have eventually beer and wine. We'd like to have iced tea, lemonade, kombucha, energy drinks, sport drinks, things like that. Our business model is to cater to people that are on the Prairie Path and the Great Western. This property is at the convergence of where the Great Western and the Prairie Path come in. They did a study a few years ago, which you guys may be aware of, that at that corner of Villa and the Prairie Path is the highest traffic, the most traffic on the Prairie Path is at Villa and the Prairie Path. And the study was something like over 290,000 people traffic that on the path every year. That's our business model. Those are our clients. So what we want to do is we've got the two existing buildings, which are represented right here, if everybody can see that. In the middle, we think it'd be fun to have a food truck. I have a friend that does competition barbecue, and it would be a perfect fit. And that kind of ties in with the beverage thing, with the beer and wine license. We're not looking to open up a bar. We're not looking to have a tavern there. But it would be nice in this fenced-in area if you could come in, get a pulled pork sandwich, sit outside on a picnic bench, have a beer. The kids can get ice cream. Everybody's contained in here safe. We've got bike racks over on this side, and that's the idea. So, given the fact that in the bigger building, we want to have kind of the setup in here, you'll see inside the building there are no tables. This is simply a carry out from the food truck. You can go in here, you can get a beverage. The only additional building that we want to do on here is to build an additional bathroom. So you can go inside and use the ADA bathroom that's here. But if we are going to get a beer and wine license, we don't want to have the kids going inside the building to use the restroom. So we're building another bathroom outside that opens to the outside. So if you're a parent and you're sitting outside on one of the picnic benches, you can still keep an eye on your kids as they're going into the restroom. Additionally, you'll see that we have some planters around here. So the idea behind these planters is not just that they're going to be on the surface of the ground. We want these planters to actually be sunk into the ground, made of cement, so that if some goofball happens to jump the curb, these planters are properly spaced to stop any vehicle from jumping up on the curb and coming in there. Another safety feature. But cement is kind of ugly, so we're going to wrap them in the pavers that we're going to use along the whole driveway, base of the property. Reason we're going with pavers is we want to create as close to a zero stormwater return as possible, so that all the water that we get on the property absorbs into the property, and it's not a drain to the community, to the community sewers. It doesn't drain to the community sewers. So in short, that's our vision for this property. Villa Park desperately needs a location that people can go down the Prairie Path, get an ice cream, get a pulled pork sandwich, have a drink, and have a family-friendly environment. Karen and I are both cyclists. We love to ride the Prairie Path. That's part of the reason why we bought the house where we did. We love the proximity to the Prairie Path. We want to draw all our clients, or as many of our clients as possible, on the Prairie Path. We're not competing with the local taverns in town. And a topic that came up multiple times is the topic of gaming. Will you have gaming in the property? And the answer to that is no. Gaming is not family friendly. It's just not a family friendly thing. If you want to do gaming, you can go to Donitos, you can go to the other locations that have it, not to us. And we feel strongly about that. So we're here today to ask for two variances. The most important variance that we're asking for is, according to the ordinance, you're required to have parking on the property. Parking, in this case, I believe it's 25% of whatever tables that you would have. So those tables, if you were to count the picnic tables as tables, that's where you get the parking count from. This is a small, tiny footprint of a property for anybody who's ever seen it. It just doesn't make sense to try to have kids come in here to get ice cream, running around the property, fencing it off, trying to create safety, and then having parking over here. And at maximum, what could we fit? Maybe 3 cars. So That's variance number one. Variance number two is a fence is gonna go up behind here. And we thought that since we were doing the variance process anyway, it's a small extra fee to ask for another variance. We wanted to change the height of the fence from the 6 foot that's permitted in the ordinance as it is to an 8-foot fence, an extra 2 feet high. Reason being, for aesthetic purposes, 8 feet kind of fits better between the two buildings. The fence would only go from building to building. It doesn't wrap the whole distance. Our property line is right where the buildings are set. So there is no space behind there. So it would go building to building and then from building to the end, right there. The design of the fence is either a wooden fence or what Karen likes more is a synthetic, stylish type fence. No maintenance, right? And typically when you build a fence, the good side faces out. So we would do a double fence. So the good side faces out and we put another siding on there so the good side faces in as well. The parking is the real issue here. There is a parking issue in downtown Villa Park. I mean, I hear about it. I've tried my best to talk to all the local business owners and everybody involved. So what we've done for the last several weeks is at 2 o'clock, roughly at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 o'clock in the evening, we've taken pictures of the parking from our front porch. And let me just backtrack a little bit. Our tentative hours of operation on this would be the daylight hours. We're thinking right now from 9 to 9, but we're actually thinking maybe we would open up earlier and open at like 6 o'clock and be able to serve coffee out of the ice cream shop for the early morning, summer walkers and stuff like that. Go up, get a coffee, go for a stroll on the path. So we thought 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock is a good representation of when are the most cars there. So this is the view from our front porch. If you're sitting on our front porch looking at the traffic, you can see the building in the background right here. The village just built 20 new spots on Park Avenue. And in addition, there's 8 spots right over here. This is the museum right here. There's 8 spots existing for the museum. Right behind the Prairie Path here, right behind the Prairie Path are the 30, how many spots are there? That would be 30 spots are in the Historical Museum parking spot right here. When you have a moment, I know it's kind of hard to see all of these, but this represents the last 2 weeks of parking, which included Good Friday and Easter, which are a busy weekend. It is so underutilized, these parking spots, that we feel there certainly wouldn't be a problem for people to park here. We also considered, though, that we're going to have employees, and the employees may not take the Prairie Path down, so we have to accommodate our employee parking. We don't want, if we're going to ask the village to not require us to have parking on the property itself, it's only fair that we accommodate our own employees. So right behind our house is the Syrian Orthodox Church, and we have a great relationship with them. They're very good people. They agreed to a license to keep all our employees on the parking lot, on their parking lot, which is private property, which then doesn't have our employees park anywhere on the public spots for the village. So we've alleviated entirely the employee parking. Now all we're talking about is cyclists, bikers, joggers, those people on the Prairie Path. That's our client base, that's what we want. But even for some of those that, insist on driving over there, there is such ample parking in the front that we think that we can accommodate that. Additionally, what I've heard is that on Central, just recently they passed to allow parking on Central Avenue. And they're also considering putting extra parking on Central west of the intersection where the Prairie Path let me see if I have a good picture that represents that. So just west of where the Great Western Trail links into the Prairie Path, there's a crosswalk right there, and that would be at the corner of Myrtle and Central. You guys kind of know where I'm talking about? There's some talk that the village is thinking of increasing the parking and basically replicating what we have on Park, which they did a great job on, going west from that intersection and put another 10, 20, whatever spots. There's a lot of room down there. So if the village wanted us to lease those or do something with that, we would be very open to doing that. Have no problem with that whatsoever. Additionally, because of the residences on Myrtle, we thought if the village would like or would allow us to do it, we can put a sign on that west part of the building that says, please don't park on Myrtle, and with an arrow that says, parking available on Park, parking available on Central, something to that effect. And, we would follow your lead on that. That would be no problem. We're trying to get community tie-in, so we'd like to partner with local businesses. One local business that said they would love to partner with us is J&R Cycle. What we talked about is including on the corner of the building, maybe you've seen them, it's like 9 basic bicycle tools, and they're all on a chain, and then a compressor so people can fill up their tires. And then we'll carry some very limited tire tubes and basic things that people need when they kind of run into trouble. But then J&R would put a small sign over there where the compressor and the tools are, so that if somebody has something bigger, they know they can call up J&R and run over there. Maybe J&R can come pick them up or something like that. We encourage and we love community tie-in. So any other community businesses that somehow want to tie in, partner up with us, do things with us, let's do it. This is going to be a great community project. I see fundraisers happening here. I see people coming in September. They're having the breast cancer ride. So far, they've got 200 bicycles or cyclists signed up for it. We've talked to Lorna over at J&R Bicycle about either starting or ending at the property right there. Other tie-ins like that would be great. It's a wonderful property in a wonderful location that has sat totally underutilized. And for people in Elmhurst and people in Lombard and Glen Ellen and Wheaton, let alone everybody here in Villa Park, if you want to jump on your bike and you want to go somewhere and you just kind of want to do something, how great to ride into Villa Park or jog into Villa Park and get your coffee or get your tea, get a pulled pork sandwich, get an ice cream cone. I can totally see families walking over, as a group and sitting down, and there's a little bit for everybody in there. But I emphasize this is a family-friendly place, so we don't want to turn it into a tavern. We don't want to have late-night hours. We don't want to have bands playing, and music late at night. We did a fundraiser for the Presbyterian Church, and we had a guy who was just fantastic. He played Spanish guitar, acoustic Spanish guitar. That would probably be the extent of our music, something like that. Or teaming up with the high school and having some of the young talent that's in the high school come and do a quartet or something like that. Tying in with the Artist Guild, and doing First Fridays. Karen used to own a art gallery. The first Friday of every month. Come in, hang your artwork, open it up. People can come in. If we have a beer and wine license, we can do a little wine tasting, maybe team up with Sales or something like that to come in and do a wine tasting. That'd be a fun date night. There's so much opportunity here. Villa Park is growing. It's a wonderful community. I own multiple properties in Villa Park. I live in Villa Park. I've been here for over 20 years. I love it. I mean, this is my town. This is my community. I think this is going to be a great asset. And then you guys have all probably seen this, one of the 10 best places to raise a family. Villa Park is doing well. But this is family right here. This is in the heart of Villa Park, so I'm asking you all to consider this and give us the ability to open up as we want to, make suggestions. but don't force us to have parking on the property because it'll completely change the dynamic of it. We've covered the employee parking situation. We believe there's ample parking on this side, well, I should say the south side of the Prairie Path right there. It doesn't interfere with the businesses, Moore, Demitos, all the parking on Villa. We think we're kind of in a different section, so we ask you to, vote in our favor and consider what an asset this can become. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to staff input. Director Grill, whenever you're ready.
Good evening. Mr. Kozar made a very nice presentation about how he plans on utilizing this property, which has been in the village many, many decades. It's unique from the standpoint, it's a rather small site, uniquely oriented towards the Prairie Path. One thing that I don't think he quite mentioned, and it certainly didn't show up in any of his drawings, was the fact that he's also going to be utilizing the food truck. It might be the same food truck for a while. He might bring a different food truck in, given maybe the time of year or something like that. So that would also be part of this project, and it is shown on the site plan that was included in your packet. Again, this is a fairly small site, and because of that, the petitioner is asking for a variation to the parking. The parking code for the village requires that you have that you provide one parking space for every 3 seats, and given the amount of seating that he showed on the site, staff estimated there to be the need for 20 parking spaces. The code also provides that you must provide at least 25% of your spaces on site, and does give you the ability to seek up to 75% of your required parking off-site if it's within 300 feet. But given what the petitioner has requested doing, and having an ice cream shop and likely having lots of children and families, mixing lots of children and family with vehicular traffic is probably not the most ideal situation, and therefore that's why he is asking for this variance request. From a village perspective, staff has spent a considerable amount of time looking for additional parking spaces in this area. We've had many meetings with the local business district about how to accomplish that. We have talked at length about having 15-minute parking here, 30-minute parking there, 3-hour parking here, and how it's all to be enforced. The village has added additional parking on Park Avenue. It also added additional on-street parking on Central Avenue. That is all in an attempt to try to alleviate whatever parking situations that people may think exist in the Villa Park Business District. And the village is not done yet. The village is still seeking out additional opportunities, providing more parking in this area. I am going to read several letters that staff has received from individuals who could not be here tonight, but I did want to read them in the record. I will start with an individual named Christine. She says, "Thank you for your message. We appreciate the time you took to share your opinion on the matter." Christine Staunton, who says, For the Planning and Zoning Commission, I am nearly a 20-year resident of Villa Park. I cannot make the Zoning Commission meeting on April 12th, but I would like to express my support for Jack Kozar and his plans for the property at 324 East Central Boulevard. I do not think that a few parking spaces outweigh the benefits of having more outdoor gathering, entertainment, and eating space. In fact, I would like to suggest that the village purchase the empty property just east of 324 East Central and make that additional downtown parking. I believe in Mr. Kozar's plan and think it will help revitalize the area and bring pedestrians and cyclists from the Prairie Path. Please consider approving his request to modify the zoning for the property. Thank you. And I do want to comment to her statement about the village purchasing the empty property just east of 324 East Central. The village has had many, many, many conversations with the owner of this property. He seems to flip-flop back and forth depending on the day that you talk to him, but the village is still trying to seek out that property. Second letter is from Jess Spiewak. Hi, my name is Jessica Jess Spiewak, and I am a chairwoman of the Villa Park Environmental Concerns Commission. After a recent presentation to the ECC by Jack Kozar, manager of 324 East Central Development, I support Kozar's aims and goals of his apparent concern to beautify the village with an environmental approach. If you are unaware of the location, it once housed a gas station. I was impressed by the different facets of Mr. Kozar's business being earth-friendly, from the removal of many underground storage tanks filled with fuel and the remediation of the tanks and surrounding soil, to the choice of placing bike racks on the premises for the patrons who ride on the Prairie Path and Great Western Trail, to the permeable pavers and upcycled materials planned to be used with the refurbishing of the two buildings on the property. Not to mention the sustainable practices Kozar plans to implement with providing food from an organic farm, which he owns at the end of the Great Western Trail in Sycamore, as well as his plan to work with local businesses to support local commerce. It's clear Kozar has made a concerted effort in being environmentally friendly. It would be an asset for the village to allow such a development to move forward. It could be one more reason for folks to come visit Villa Park. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Jess Spiewak. I also got an email from Joseph Montgomery, who says, I hope all find you well. Just a note to let you know that we support the inclusion and addition of the proposed ice cream behind the old post office and by the gas station repair shop located along East Central Boulevard between Villa and Euclid. It should be a nice addition to the neighborhood. As always, please feel free to contact me anytime you should have further requests, comments, or questions. Have a safe and healthy day. Joseph J. Montgomery. And the last was an email I received just moments before the start of the meeting that says, if you bear with me just a moment. Gotta love technology. Okay, this is from Sandra Simon Nichols. Hi, Mr. Grill. I am a 16-year Villa Park resident, and I wanted to voice my support for the ice cream shop that wants to go in near the Prairie Path. I would appreciate it if you would support it, too. I believe it will add to the charm of our town and make myself and my children very happy to have somewhere where we can enjoy ice cream after our walks on the path. Thank you, and kindest regards, Sandra Simon Nichols. So, I just wanted to make sure that those got read into the record. In the staff memo, you will find questions that Mr. Kozar answered relative to why he believes why he has a hardship and why he needs these variances. The staff did put together finding of fact should the Planning and Zoning Commission wish to make a positive recommendation on this. As always, you always have the ability to change, modify, or completely rewrite these as you see fit. I also want to mention that this was properly published in the March 22nd, the public hearing was properly published in the March 22nd, 2018 edition of the Daily Herald. If this commission does find in support of the applicant's request, the following motion could be entertained, and that would be to approve application PZ 18004 for requests that include a variation to the maximum permitted fence height from 6 feet to 8 feet along the north side of the property, and a variation to required minimum parking from 20 spaces to 0 spaces, with the following conditions: that the site be developed generally as shown on Exhibit A, as submitted by the petitioner, and that the fence be erected generally as shown on Exhibit B to a height of 8 feet with a finished side facing north. Obviously, if the petitioner wants to put a finished side on the south side, that's certainly up to him. And with a finding of fact that was included in the staff memo dated April 6th, 2018. With that, I'll turn it back over to the commission. If they have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. All right, so with that, we'll move into public participation and questions. If you weren't here at the beginning, anybody that wanted to speak was sworn in. If you think you would like to speak and you weren't sworn in, is there anybody here? If you're the only one, then you can be sworn in when you come up and speak. So at this time, anybody wishing to speak should come up to the podium. Try to limit yourself to a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, so everybody has a chance. And if you support the project, please come up and say so. But if somebody makes a point, you don't need to, spend 3 minutes redoing the point. Let all of your neighbors have a chance to speak as well, and just state your name and address when you come up to the podium. So with that, we'll take first comment. Who wants to be first?
Hi, my name's Michelle Stieber, and do I say my address? Yes? At 405 South Cornell in Villa Park. So Jack and I are business associates, and I just learned of this project actually yesterday. I am maybe what they call a townie. I was raised here and have seen the village change. I went to school here, and I came back to raise my family here. Right before this, we were at a baseball game, and we got ice cream at Dairy Queen, and I parked in their parking lot, and I urged my son to not run out and, because there were cars, and I made that, statement to him, and we dodged in and out of the drive-through traffic and got our ice cream. What Jack is proposing is, just an amazing vision, and I was instantly impressed when he showed me the documentation. I believe that this village is on, a upwards trajectory in being, making a name for ourselves. That area is certainly a hot area right now, and this would only add to the improvement. Down the block, I actually owned a store on Park Boulevard, and I had a children's store called Brown Bear Boutique, and that area has turned over a lot, and there's not a lot going on. So maybe if this kind of family-friendly business comes in, then the growth would continue down the line, down the path. That would be, not only that Villa district being successful, but then also bringing, that success onto near Ardmore as well. So fully support his initiative and really believe in the outdoor space and utilizing all that space for people, not cars.
Thank you. Whoever's next, please. And you'll need to be sworn in. The court reporter here will help you with that.
Hello, my name is Charles O'Byrne, and I live on 726 South Cornell Avenue. I'd like to say that as a cyclist and a skateboarder, this is a very good idea. because it's very accessible for me to get there and all my friends to get there, because places like McDonald's or Mickey's, it's on a very busy road, and I do not feel safe at all to be riding on the sidewalk, because the sidewalk, I just don't want to be next to it. I would also like to say that this is the place that I feel safe also going to, because places around there like Demito's or Moore, I would not go in alone to Demito's. I would not go in alone to Moore, but I would go in alone to this new establishment, because it sounds great. It sounds family friendly. I feel safe. I feel like I can just go in there, feel great, get some stuff, and then leave. I don't have to, yeah. And I just think it's a really good idea for this to be in here.
Thank you. Whoever's next, please.
My name is Fiona Murphy. I live at 233 South Oakland Grove in Elmhurst, which is technically really right there. So I could walk anywhere. But so I'm a high school student at Willowbrook, and I think this would be a great place for my friends and I to go over the summer, because I know I'm always on the Prairie Path. I do track, and a lot of my friends do, so we're always on the Prairie Path, and then we also use it to get around, and it'd be a great place to go get ice cream and just hang out, and we feel safe and be away from the cars, and I think it would really add to our town and make it more unique.
Whoever's next, yeah, you don't have to wait for me to just somebody read.
Hi, my name is Kevin Meeker. I live at 318 South Myrtle, and I'm actually right down the street. I see it from the front of my street. I see this property that we're talking about there. So Jack is actually my neighbor at the end of the block there. We moved here approximately 6.5 years ago, and when we moved here, I really got involved in the community so much that I wanted to be a commissioner. So I'm part of the Traffic and Safety Commission as well too. Did that for my family that's here. So when I look down the street and I see this, and when I talked with Jack and I saw the opportunity that this property has and what this gentleman wants to do for the area, not just for the people that live in this area, but also bringing other people into the community that travel constantly back and forth on the Prairie Path. My family and I use the Prairie Path ourselves, and when we do, sometimes we'll go all the way out to Geneva. We never see anything like this along the path. So just imagine people stopping along the paths in our area, seeing things like this. Bringing more people to the community that like to have the activity of the Prairie Path. Buying more homes possibly in the area, bringing more businesses to the area, more revenue, more taxes as well too. So I hope that you support this very small request of not having this very limited parking with, I believe that Jack had shown that he can accommodate the parking for his employees, as well as the additional parking that has already been put in by the city, just South End Park, as well as the new parking restrictions put into that area. So supporting this PZ 18004, I think would be a benefit for the community, for our families, as well as your families as well. And I hope you support this. Thank you for your time.
So my twin sister just talked. My name's Maeve Murphy, and I live 233 South Oakland Grove. Being a new driver, I also go to Willowbrook. It's hard, especially in this area, to find some place if we just want to go for ice cream or just hang out, because I mean I don't always have the car, and we have to go to places like Elmhurst or Lombard and not accessible to walk. It would be really nice to have something in the area that would be safe to get to and not have to bring a car to. So, yeah.
Hi, my name's Meg Childress. I live at 240 East Oak Street. And I guess I moved to Villa Park about 9 years ago. And one of the things I really liked about it is its location. It's such a great location. There's lots of walkable and bikeable places to go. And I totally support this. I think it's such a great, that intersection of the two paths is like, this is perfect. So I'm in.
Who's next? Anyone?
My name is Anthony Otto, 211 South Villa Avenue, representing Michael Anthony's Pizza. I've spoken with Jack. I've spoken with many of the other business owners in the area. We think the idea would be a welcome idea or addition to the area, but the parking is a major concern. It's not something that we think is a problem. It is truly a problem. And some of our concerns are if the variance is granted for this petitioner, what happens to other businesses in the area that want to come in and possibly ask for the same variance. We hope that the area does get more business and increases the traffic down there, but without more parking, it's going to be a problem. So that's all.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony about today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes.
My name is Andrea Meeker, and I live at 318 South Myrtle Avenue. A point that I don't think a lot of people touched on was, is this on? Okay. I'm a mother of a young son, and I see a lot of kids in the community that don't have any place to play, or not to play, but to hang out. I'm an employee at Villa Park Public Library, and the only place that I feel like children have to go that is safe and they feel comfort is the library. And while I'm a big advocate of that, and I think it's great that they come to the library after school, I think it would be good to have an alternative to be somewhere else besides the library. Because as far as I know, there's nowhere for our children to go in this town that is safe and that they can be children. There's no pizza place. Well, I mean, there is pizza places, but even the parks, I don't really feel like the children feel safe, that they have a place to call their own or to just go get an ice cream. So as a mother of a young child here in the community, I think this would be really great for them, and I hope the community supports it. I think it'll be good for us. Thank you.
You haven't been sworn in? Okay. She'll help you.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony about today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Hello, my name's Frankie Goals. I live at 424 South Ardmore Avenue. I'm in 8th grade, and I can't drive a car or anything. So the only way of transportation I have is either bike, skateboard, or walk with all my friends. So I think that if I want to go to play basketball at Lions Park and go to 7-Eleven, I think that instead of going somewhere just to play basketball, I think we should be able to have a food place to go to that has everything. Like you can go there for lunch and dinner and dessert and anything. So I just think that it will help a lot for our community.
Hi, my name is Riley Goals. I live at 424 South Ardmore. That's my brother. I feel that there's a lot of kids who cannot drive yet in Villa Park that don't have anywhere to go, and usually they have to have rides to get to other places like in Elmhurst or Lombard where there are things to do for people, and there's safer places for kids to go and hang out and do more things. There's more opportunities. And I think that if we have this opportunity that we don't take, we're not going to have any more after that. I feel like if we have more people coming in and we have more traffic coming into like there's places to go in Villa Park. That opens up more opportunities because other businesses are going to see him taking these chances, and they're going to take more chances, and soon we can have like a way more places to go for students and people who can't drive yet. And I always think that I don't know if anyone else like thinks of these things, but there's a lot of basketball courts that are like in like little tiny places that are unsafe, and my mom doesn't usually let my brother go to Lions Park because of other kids that come in and do things that aren't illegal, or there's bullying that happens there. And I think that if we have more people coming in, families around in like restaurants, we can have more places around that that are more public. Like maybe someone can build a basketball court after that. That's where people can see their children playing. And I go to Willowbrook also. I'm a runner on track and field, and I love to run. And usually I always have to run to Elmhurst to get a coffee or something. And I feel like it would be really nice if we had a place in Villa Park that's local that we can have way more access to. And then I just think that would be great.
Hello, my name's Megan. I'm from 335 East Kenilworth. First off, I would like to say I love the idea. I think it's great. I think it's beautiful. It'd be wonderful for the neighborhood. I love everything that everyone here has to say. I would love for a place for people who don't drive to have to go to or be able to go to. It's wonderful. However, the parking issue again is a problem. I'm sorry. Yes, there's a spot for your employees to park. The post office just sold. That was a lot of parking. They are now fencing that off, and that is no parking right now. I love that, you guys been doing your homework. You have your pictures of the parking right now. We have not hit summer yet. We do not have an issue yet with parking. We do have, let me take that back. We have an issue with parking right now. The summertime is a whole nother ball game. Okay, we have absolutely no parking. Saturday and Sunday days, there is not a parking spot in all of Villa Park. People are driving around. I get all the time. It is not fair to current businesses that have been open for all these years in Villa Park that are now suffering because I would love to support it. I cannot support it. There is a problem that has not yet been taken care of. Once that is taken care of, I would love to have more business in Villa Park. I think it's a beautiful design, everything. I love it. This is a seasonal business that you're looking to have. Our problem is our seasonal business too. Saturday, Sunday mornings in the summer. Those pictures, we don't even have a parking issue so much right now as far as in a few weeks, you will not be able to park anywhere. I understand that this is a bike-friendly, prairie path-focused business. However, I hope you're going to have great food, you're going to have a great atmosphere from the looks of it. I want to go there. However, yes, maybe I'll go there on my bike, but tomorrow after I had a beef sandwich or a barbecue, this, that, or the other, maybe I want to drive back the next day and I'm in my car. Once again, I would love to be able to support this. I cannot. We have a problem in the village right now, currently existing. It is not okay or fair to the existing businesses that have been here for years to now suffer even more than we already have been because it has not been taken care of yet. And once the parking situation is taken care of, I'll high five you. Let's do it. I can't wait to have another business. Let's make downtown Villa Park awesome. Right now, we have a problem. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim Krieger. I have a little business on Villa Avenue and several other properties in the area. I love your idea. I do have a problem with the parking. I drove past there tonight because I actually came here half an hour early. So I thought, let's go see what's there. I looked in the museum parking lot. There were 5 spaces open. Okay? There were maybe 3 or 4 on, I think that little street's Cortese. Everything else was full. I would 100% support your idea but we really need the backing of the village to put in additional parking. I really feel like it's up to you guys to make that happen. Have any of you gone down there in the evening on a Friday or a Thursday night? Linda, have you gone? And did you see a parking problem? Okay. How about you, Jason? Have you gone down there on a Thursday or Friday night, let's say 6, 7 o'clock? How about you, Vince? Have you gone? You haven't seen a problem? Well, then you haven't been down there on the right night. How about you, Mike? Have you gone down there?
Every day.
Well, I think, honestly, because I do own a business there, there is a parking problem. If you can put in another 20 spots along somewhere, that would really resolve it. I also love the idea that you have your employees going to park out of the area. I don't really hear that from some of the other businesses. I personally have enough parking for my employees, but it's not the case for many businesses. I support them if they can get the additional parking, but that you guys have to make happen.
Are we allowed to go back up to just kind of comment on something that was made?
Not really.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I swear to tell the truth. My name's Steve Goals. I'm on 424 Ardmore, and there really isn't a parking problem. I mean, I've gone there at night. I've driven by. If you have to walk half a block, okay. So I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are handicapped and things like that, or elderly, and they're gonna have a little trouble. But in general, there's really not a parking problem. If you're willing to walk a half a block or a block. But more importantly, there's literally no businesses to go to, especially for kids. I mean, there's business. I don't know anyone's business here, but most of the businesses up and down, they're not retail friendly to walk. You know, if you go to one place, maybe you'll go to more, but unless you're drinking or want to do gambling or, you know, things like that, there's really nowhere to go, especially for the kids. It's really sad when I have kids over and they're like, "Oh, where are we gonna go?" We're like, if they want to go for candy, let's go to the liquor store down the street on. I'm not kidding. This is going on for years. And once the kids hit about 6th grade, before that they don't know what's going on. But once they hit 6th grade, it's like, oh my God, what's going on in this town? Why isn't there anywhere to go? Why do we have to go? Why are we always driving to Chicago, Oak Park, Downers Grove, Lombard, Elmhurst? I mean, pretty much any other town around has more to do for kids. So we need this. And if there's 3 parking spots or 4, whatever it is, I would take this business. If you had to put 10, 20 other businesses here and take this, I would take this for the kids. Do it for the kids, And like my daughter said, when the kids even to go play basketball, there's always an issue. And I drive by that court. Right now, it looks like they fix it up. Last year, I drove by months and months. The nets are hanging, tree branches were laying, and I have pictures if anyone wants that. Tree branches laying on the court. There's cracks in the court. The kids go there, they steal their basketball. Kids are doing drugs everywhere. It's horrible. The parks are terrible. Give them something, please. Thank you.
I would ask that we not applaud. I know you guys support the project, but this is a public hearing, and there are different sides, and we're all neighbors, and some people might feel that's adversarial. I mean, it's not meant that way. I understand that, and it hasn't happened much, but.
Karen Solem, 329 East Park Boulevard. I personally took 90% of all of those photos that you're looking at. They were taken at 2 o'clock, 7 o'clock, every day for at least 2 weeks. Over that course, we covered Easter weekend. Everybody's home from college, and they're visiting the local tavern, coming into Villa Park, and parking. There's a 10:30 p.m. Saturday night photo. It's larger because you can't do panoramic once it gets dark. So it's printed, put together. There's 2 different evenings that I printed that way. You can see in front of our house these new parking spots that you so graciously put in for people to use are underused, if not used. The problem is that people aren't coming over to utilize them and just complaining that now a semi-congested area is now being congested. And this is called growth. new business cannot move into towns and have ample parking. You just have to expand. And you have to understand that if you're driving a car, you may not be able to park right outside or where you normally park because you have new business coming in. In front of our house on Park Boulevard, you have provided 23 new spots. The only time I have seen more than 2 spots being used is when Moore Brewing has their new release early in the morning on a Saturday. We have parking everywhere. I honestly did not know what was going on in our town. And I saw people standing on the Great Western, lined up. I thought there was a rally. This is when Trump was brought into office. And I seriously thought something was happening that we didn't know about. Then found out. If someone wants to find parking, they will find parking. These spots are not being used. They're not being used by employees of businesses in the area. They don't know about them yet or haven't been told. The spot right south of and adjacent to these on the same road that have been existing, 5 spots by the Historical Museum. Typically there's 1 car in there, and that's the employee of the Historical Museum that's parking there. 4 other spots are open, except for the workers for the new vegetation that you've put in on that greenery. Our front of our house, the windows overlook this view all day long. Morning, noon, night. I work from home. I see it. Those spots are available. You have ample parking. You also have street parking right in front of there. The existing spots that you have on the path, it's not on a road, it's a parking lot right west of the Historical Museum. There's 30 spots. So together, in just those 2 within maybe 25 feet of each other, there are 58 total underused parking spots. I would encourage any other business that exists to use those spots. That's where your employees should be parking so that your clients or your customers can park closer to your business. Utilize the existing that Villa Park has provided. Utilize them. They're not being utilized. I see it. And that's all that I have to say. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? You'll get a chance for final comments, and we'll probably have questions for you, so there'll be plenty of chance for you to speak. Please, go ahead.
Oh, yes. So I really like the idea, and oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Bennett Fleming, 707 South Summit Avenue.
Thank you.
Like Charlie, and all of my friends, we're always on the Prairie Path walking pretty much everywhere because we can't drive. And this would be an amazing idea because not only it's open for kids, it's open for everyone. It's also a more affordable option, better than like Moore, which is, it's good, but it's really expensive. And same with McDonald's. And most kids get paid allowance, and some don't even get paid allowance. So, better option.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak at this time? All right. Seeing none, I will close the public participation in questions and move to questions from the commission. I have a list, but if anybody else wants to start.
Yeah, I have a list too. I'll start. You're talking about a 8-foot fence along the whole back of the property? Or are you just talking between the 2 buildings and then you would drop it down to a 6-foot fence the rest of the way to the trash corral.
No. So the thinking was 8-foot fence right here in the middle and 8-foot fence over here as well. So you're going to have, which is represented here in this picture, this is the property right here. The fence would be back here and back here. These are the bike racks. This is the little fenced-in area for the garbage. So yeah, we were actually thinking of continuing this fence, you know, having it all just be the same height.
Okay, would you consider 6 feet to the east of that building and just have 8 feet between the two buildings? Reason why I'm asking is your trash corral only has to be 6 feet tall.
Right.
Would that be a change you'd be willing to
I would
make?
consider it. The fence was really a secondary issue. So,
I understand.
you know, we were just trying to keep it all, like the continuity of it together.
Uniform.
Yeah, and uniform. So that's why we were thinking just continue with the full 8-foot fence. Down
No,
to the
I
trash
understand.
corral. So-
I mean, the building breaks it up, so it really might not even be noticeable to the eye that one fence is lower. I was just wondering if you'd entertain that.
Sure. What's
Um,
your, if I may ask, what's your concern on the fence?
Because it's a variance, it's a tall fence, and as you know from your own property, they start to lean the higher they go. You have a 6-foot fence at your property, and there's parts that are leaning right now. So you could only imagine an 8-foot fence, how much that'll lean over time. So maintenance would be the thing, maintenance free. Aesthetics, and I don't think it's necessary to have, you know, a wall that high.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
It would make the variance even a little easier to grant for that particular item.
Yeah, but just while we're on the, while we're on the fence, I was kind of wondering the same thing. What do you feel that you gain? Is there anything beyond aesthetics for you that an 8-foot fence gives you that a 6-foot fence doesn't?
It's only for aesthetics.
Okay.
I mean, I would hope that nobody's jumping the fence.
Right.
A 6-foot fence or an 8-foot fence, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if they got enough, you know, I don't know, whatever they're doing, but I shouldn't think that anybody would be hopping that fence.
Yeah, 6 or 8.
Right. But especially between the two buildings, I think that, you know, number one, having a fence of any size back there kind of brings out the building. And it, you know, kind of contains everything. So, I mean, it has to be big enough that it isn't appealable, like, it's not appealing to anybody to try to jump over the fence. You know, like a 4-foot fence might be or something
Right.
like that, yeah. So that was kind of our thinking with the 8-foot fence.
All right. Then, are you going to be open in the winter?
So I don't think that we're going to have much business in January, February, and March. You know, the Prairie Path, like I can't bike typically in those months, you know, because of the ice on the path and stuff, and there just isn't much path. So what our thinking is that we would close down for those 3 months. You know, we would button up the property, remove, you know, if there's a food truck on there. I have a warehouse up in Wisconsin just outside Lake Geneva. You know, so if we housed it in there, we would get everything off the property and button it up. So our current business plan is that we would close January, February, and March. I think that November and December can be a lot of fun because you're getting, you know, the Thanksgiving holiday, you got Christmas in there. I think we could do a lot of fun stuff in December, even if we cut our hours and only did Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you know, doing hot chocolate and putting Christmas trees on the property. And I don't know if they still do it, but there used to be a sleigh ride on the Prairie Path. So, you know, probably weekends in December, but that's what we're thinking.
Okay. In one of your drawings, it was the interior of the garage. You had a square in the middle of the floor. I saw it looked like bar stools, and then there was a square in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
And we don't have that drawing.
You're looking at this drawing, right?
Yeah, what is that
Yeah.
square?
So, for everybody else to see it, what I wanted to do was just put a table a large table right in the middle. So the thinking is if you're, if you grab something from the food truck, right here, you can walk into the building and it's kind of just this large public table where you can put your stuff down on the table, you can stand around it. That's what I was thinking with this. And then on the sides of the building here, we would have kind of, like a ledge of some sort. That was the thinking behind
And
it.
that would be like standing then?
Yes, kind of standing room only type situation.
20 parking spaces based on the amount of tables you have. But really 5 is what he would need on site. 25% of 20 is 5, correct?
Correct.
So he would need to have 5, if he came up with 5 spots on site and didn't ask for an 8-foot fence, he could open up his business tomorrow, correct?
Not necessarily. We would have to ascertain whether or not there were another 15 spaces within 300 feet of this site.
Would that include the unused spaces on the south side of the Prairie Path?
Any public space, yes.
So even if the 300 feet meant you were walking across the Prairie Path?
Yes.
Okay.
So if I may, it's 25% of the number of tables?
No, 25% of the required parking has to be provided on site. And you can seek the ability to count off-site spaces if they're public and within 300 feet of the property.
And the parking requirement, if I'm recalling, was 1 per seat. I mean, 1 per every 3 seats, correct?
Yes.
So based on this drawing, that would be, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we're looking at, based on this drawing, 4 spots. How are you coming up with?
No.
What's
1,
it
2,
as?
3, 4, 5,
Oh,
6,
seats,
7,
not tables.
8, 9,
Seats.
10,
No,
11,
space
12,
parking,
14.
spaces.
Right.
How many spaces do you have inside, roughly? I mean, how many chairs do you
I
have?
have no seats inside. Everything is picnic benches outside.
You don't have any stools?
There are
Yeah, you have stools.
stools.
Did that count?
I
Or is it just tables?
I just put a couple stools up by the, the beverage bar.
Okay.
Well, it's easy. You have
Yeah, so you basically
15
have about
tables.
60 seats.
Yeah. Well, you have
Which
15
is
tables,
where I think
4
staff-
seats at a table, that's 60.
60 seats.
Okay.
So
Divided
60
by three,
seats, 20.
spaces.
I got you.
I mean, just based on your outside table, without even going to the inside, you need 20 spots.
Every business in Villa Park needs that?
I'm sorry, what?
Every business in Villa Park?
The way the zoning code works is every use is, uses are different. Uses are broken into categories. Each use has a different parking
So
requirement.
food or restaurant or?
I'm guessing that's what this is based on.
Yes.
I'm not sure about our ordinance, but some even break it down into quick serve restaurant versus other types of restaurants. But then every use is different.
Okay.
If I can ask a follow-up question on that. To Patrick, are all the establishments in that downtown district in Villa Park?
I'm asking the questions here. Let me
Okay.
finish my questions.
Sure, I'm sorry.
You anticipate most of your customers being on foot or cyclists, right?
Right. That is our business model.
And on the thing that the church gave you, they didn't specify how many spots.
They don't have a requirement as long as it's our employees. And from my understanding as well, the church has expressed that the village of Villa Park can have overflow parking in their parking lot as well.
So they'll give you 24-hour access?
Correct.
Now, are you talking about parking where the camper is behind your property? Is that There's a camper behind
Yeah,
your property.
right, that's my camper.
So is that where the
No, it's the.
Employees
it's
will be
the-
parking?
It's the parking lot proper that's there. They just repaved it, re-blacktopped it, and put new lines on it.
Mhm.
That's the parking lot that they have.
Okay.
That's what they're referring to.
One thing that was mentioned a lot here, and there's been a lot of kids that have said, you know, this is the place for us. But there's also going to be alcohol served. That's kind of a tough scenario. It looks like you made accommodations with the washroom so the kids
Right.
aren't walking through the
Right.
bar. I think you might have to go above and beyond what the village is going to provide you as far as keeping the kids safe. If you do have people that are going there solely to ride their bike across town and, you know, a bunch of middle-aged adults are gonna go to a bar and, or go to your place, drink and hop back on the Prairie Path and, you know, you're gonna have kids that you're gonna have to look out for. Because it's obvious there's a lot of kids here. So do you have a plan in place for that? Because that would be key, I would think.
Okay, so, well, one thing that I didn't mention, I forgot to mention a couple things. One is the organic farm that we invested in up in Sycamore, which was briefly mentioned. But the other item was that in our plan, which, I mean, you can't really show it on here, but we want to have security cameras on the buildings. And then those security cameras, the video access will be posted online. And our thinking was that we could just post that and people could look at the outdoor security camera. So, you know, if their kids are up there and they, you know, if the kid says, hey, we're going up to, you know, Creme to get ice cream, 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that, and the parents want to check in and say, you know, is he really in there? They can go to the website and check it out. Like, for example, in my house, I've got security cameras all around the perimeter. At any point, I can pick out my phone, hit the app, I can see exactly what's going on in my own yard. Same general concept. So, you know, I thought that would be, you know, that's a good security measure.
Yeah, that seems like, that seems pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know, you know, I mean, it's kind of an after-the-fact thing, but it's still better than nothing,
Yeah.
so.
And then I think the bathroom too. You know, I know the price of having a bathroom that opens to the outside is that everybody on the Prairie Path is going to use it like a public restroom. I fear that, but so be it. That's what it is. But you know, we want it to open from the outside. You know, so kids don't have to go in here. You know, and if their parents are sitting at a picnic bench, there's still line of sight and they can see what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Then, I have a question. Megan, you're with Demito's, right?
Yes.
How many parking spots does Demito's have on site?
I'm gonna say it's about 7.
So 7 that Demito's owns, right? It's Demito's parking?
Yes.
And then, do you know how far off the parking variance you are? Based on the tables
I
you
don't know
have?
how far off it is, but I know when the business was open, there wasn't a parking issue, and that was at the time.
Yeah.
Whatever was
I
taken care of.
I actually remember when Debbie came in here and asked for the variance, and the other businesses were like, it's a parking issue, it's gonna be a parking issue, and my response was, a parking problem is a good thing, and we have to have faith in the town to solve it. But I needed to know your parking ratio. Tony, you're outside of the parking behind you, do you have any,
The lot, the big lot across the street,
is that something,
our sign is posted on it, they agree with 207 South Villa.
okay, but that's, didn't somebody buy that building and then tear it down or something, or turn it into a lot and gave you guys access
No,
because,
I'm talking about the bank building where Ballroom City is next door,
yeah,
where Josephine's is, their parking lot.
directly across the
is
street?
Part of the same parcel, it's all one parcel.
The long parking lot that you can enter one way
Yeah,
and
that's
exit
the
other.
one that's the one I'm thinking of. That was, somebody provided that. Who owned the building over there?
It's a private lot.
Yeah, I'm saying,
Jeffrey owns that lot.
And
He
he
owned previously my building, I purchased from him 11 years ago, and he owns the building next door in 204, he owns those 4 parcels. 2
Okay.
on the east side, 2 on the west side.
And you opened that parking up to everybody, right?
No, there's specific signage on it for who's allowed to use it.
Do you guys like pay them for it, or? Do you pay for that parking spot, or, you have an agreement,
We have
right?
an agreement that we're allowed to park there.
Okay, now, the reason why it's getting to your parking problem, which is,
Kim,
Kim, are you also, you get to use that lot too?
I can use that lot, but I have parking for 9 on my property.
Okay. Because I'm wondering if he were to build, could that lot be buildable and we would lose that parking too?
What lot are you talking about?
The parking lot.
Your parking lot, across the street from your
Shared
building.
parking lot.
Build what on
We
it?
don't own it.
No, but I'm saying if it were sold, you would lose the rights to park.
It's the same parcel.
As the bank.
So
It's
when
the
they
main
sell
building. It
207,
has to
that
go
parking
with
lot
that
goes with
building.
it.
Yes.
And then the little bird sanctuary that used to be on the corner, which is now
Right.
vacant,
That parking
that little
lot.
section of that square that's fenced off over there goes with that property.
Like in the first.
Right, but what Vince is trying to say is, right, today it's a parking lot. If the property was sold tomorrow and they build a building there and eliminate the parking lot.
I understand, I get what the parking, I see Vince.
No, that won't happen because there's one, it's one tax ID number for the bank building and the parking lot are one parcel. They
The
will
owner
not be
could,
separated.
the owner could have it subdivided.
Well, right now it's one parcel.
It- right.
Right.
Yeah.
Or he
No,
could
Very
sell,
narrow building, whatever they put in there, but
it's,
if they could just provide some more parking, just, you know where the museum parking lot, there's 35 cars and it dead ends, I guess at Cortese kind of, there's a little path there. I don't know why they couldn't do like they did on the other side and put either parallel parking or put another 20 spaces there. I don't see why that's, well, no, they'd have to dig it out, put blacktop in. I mean, they did it on the other side. I think that would solve a lot of people's. And also, I know they do have,
yeah, I lost track of what you were saying. Could you start over?
sure. So, you know where the historical museum is, there's a parking lot there, right?
Right?
Okay, then it used to be longer and they used to be able to drive all the way through, now you gotta go back out the other way, but there's a little sidewalk there that goes, kind of trails over Cortese and kind of takes you to the other park, the Lions Park.
Right.
I don't see why they
It's-
couldn't take that space that's all just green and trees and actually make it another 20 spots, like they did on the south side of the path there. I think that would help a lot, because it's kind of crazy, because there are some spots where I know where she's talking, that a lot of people, I just don't know if they don't know they're there. There are times that we're coming into the season where that's gonna be crazy over there.
Those spots were not put in until November, so people
Yeah.
will start
Yeah.
with snow after.
Yeah, they haven't even been found really, I think, and there isn't really signage. I mean, there's signage there, it says village parking.
right.
My other question is the 321 apartment building on the corner of
It's all
Park
fenced in.
and
You can't get in there.
Villa. They put parking in there, is that also village parking, or is
You
that
can't get
for
in
the
there.
apartment building?
I don't know, you know, that's not village, is it, Patrick? Is it?
That's village.
Okay, I wasn't familiar with that off the top of my
Okay,
head.
because to me, I
Okay.
think people think that is parking for the apartment building. I would like to see some signs there say village parking. There isn't any there. It would help, I think, when people come in, because I think they think, oh, that's apartment building
Yeah.
parking.
Patrick, I have a question for you. Is the, outside of the lot that the owner goes back and forth on, has there been any talks of identifying more spots?
Down right there.
More parking in the area?
Yes.
While you're up, I have more questions.
If you had to guess, I mean, how much parking do you think you'd be adding in the area? And if you had to give a time frame, when do you think it would show up? I know, I know, hey, I make you stick your neck out, sorry.
This is well beyond me. It's taken lots of discussions a lot of different village departments, a lot of discussions with the county, because the Prairie Path is owned by the county, yet the village does own property, like on the south side of Long Park, where we had the ability to add that additional parking. We are trying to identify, we have that opportunity. We are also anticipating going to the county if we need to, seeing if we can reach some sort of an arrangement. We're looking at purchasing multiple properties in that area to add additional parking. But to say how many more that we could add at this point, I don't know what that number is, other than the village is intent.
Patrick, while you're up, the food truck in the current code, current zoning code, or even the pending zoning code, is there any specific references to food trucks? I mean, beyond whatever the county health code is?
Nothing beyond the county health code.
Okay.
As long as
That's why I
it
was
has
curious.
a license from the DuPage County Health Department and it's parked on private property and it's not causing a nuisance.
Okay,
The village believes
that's what I
it's okay.
thought. I wanted to verify that with you. How about live music? I know he said it's not something to be that would be a big part of his deal, but and I'm not opposed to live music necessarily, but does that put things into a different category?
Well, we have performance standards in the code that address that.
Okay.
And certainly, if somebody called and complained, we'd have to run out there with our little noise meter.
Well, I know we had that. I didn't know if in as far as uses, if that would
No, that I'm aware of. There is nothing in the code that addresses whether or not you can pipe music outside.
Can you address the U.S. Post Office, abandoned post office that's been sold? What's going to happen with all that parking? I think it was alluded to that it's gone.
The entity that purchased that is planning on rehabbing and restoring that building to its former prominence. And all of the parking that is there is going to be for their employees only. Or at least that's the plan right now.
Is there currently parking down Central? Can you park on the street there?
Yes, you can park on the south side of Central now.
There's also parking currently on the west side of Myrtle. That's Myrtle's one-way south, and there's parking allowed on the west side. I looked into that. There would not be room to park both sides of Myrtle. It's too narrow.
What about on Park? Is there parking there as well?
On Park, the village just added 20 some odd spaces.
Street parking is part of that.
Yes.
Street parking.
He's talking about parallel parking beyond
the parking spots.
Beyond the parking lot.
I would have to get back to you on that.
Yeah.
I'm not certain off the top of my
During
head.
Summerfest, at least they allow.
And I see a lot of street parking there all the time, though.
And then
I think there is along the north side of Park. I know there is west of Harvard. There is on the north side. I don't know about east, but
I know there is parking on the north side of Park. In between Summit and Villa.
And that's street parking that's open.
Yeah, and then we're gonna allow that on Central. Is there not parking there?
Mhm.
Patrick
And
said there was.
Now it's open on Central. That's street
Yeah,
parking. That's
'cause
a
that was
lot of
always,
street
I thought.
parking.
I think you can solve the problem. It's just,
I'm assuming that maybe the problem was solved when Central opened up the street parking, perhaps.
How many, I don't know exactly what it is, but when the post office decides to close all of their parking, how many spots is that going negative? So all of this that we're adding, is it a wash at this point?
But here's the thing: the post office parking has never legally been part of that parking, even if people park there. Let's please stop for a second. She's trying to record everything we say, and we have 3 people talking at once. So one at a time for her, please. Thanks.
I know it may not have been legal parking in the post office, or allowed or not. However, there were cars parked there, and that is, you have to keep in account, that is what makes it sufficient parking for the area. And if we just lost 50, 60 spaces, and we just added 60 spaces, but 60 spaces wasn't enough before, are we awash and still not enough spaces?
I mean, there isn't always a constant parking problem down there. It's certain days, certain times. And I think trying to accommodate those times is where we need those maybe extra 20 spots.
Right. Okay, Vince, did you have any other questions?
I do. Are we losing the parking from the street along the post office? If the post office develops, is that all gone too? Or just a parking lot?
No, that's Villa Parks.
Oh, that's Villa Parks?
So this strip of
East of the sidewalk of the post office?
They already have signs up that they're going.
So
It's not
the,
on the street. That's
you know, wait, what street is that, Mike? Why haven't you drawn the blank?
South Cortese Avenue? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Is that,
Between the street and the sidewalk, that's owned by the post office building.
here,
The west side of Cortese, between Central and Kenilworth, it is the village opinion that that is public parking.
the west side of Clinton? Okay, that's this.
Well, the village contends it's their parking, and
Right.
I'm guessing they're prepared to fight for it. I mean, it's not up to Patrick, obviously, but,
So,
There's no plat survey or?
well, that I don't know. That's not in our purview at all.
There are documents that exist that the village is standing by, that believes it gives the village the right to call that public parking.
Thank you.
looks
Okay.
like there's 26 in the post office parking lot. That's a lot of parking.
But it's on private property, so.
Right, I mean, it's a lot of parking they're gonna lose. Those businesses are gonna lose
It's
that.
always been private property.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
So technically, they're not losing it, they were just trespassing.
Yeah.
No, they did.
Correct.
Yeah,
Whatever you wanna call it.
we're actually technically in questions, and I don't want to shut all the conversation down, but we've got too many people trying to talk at once.
I'm done.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. I think most of them have been answered. I'm going to start with a bit of a comment. When I first heard about the post office being for sale, I started thinking what could happen with this area. I got in conversation with a friend who's an architect, and turn that part on the south into a beer garden, your property, not knowing, or some sort of open outdoor seating area. It's if that's about all it's good for. It's a small site, it can't be parked. You probably would be hard pressed to develop it as anything with the parking that would be required. You couldn't even, if you went up and you wanted to invest in a parking deck, it's not feasible. I don't know how many legal parking spots you could get on there, even with the buildings that were there. So I'm glad to see this concept. I really like the concept. I had a couple specific questions about the concept, not necessarily related to the variance, just maybe things to think about moving forward. First is a question. You're showing the planters around the south and the west sides. Do you intend to do anything between the planters? Because on the plan, it kind of looks like there's a line running between them.
Yeah, if you look at the planters, there's actually cable in
Okay.
between.
So it's the kind of thing that theoretically.
And these cables will go in, so you got the forms that are built there. The cable actually goes inside through the cement forms, and then on the back side, there's rebar in the planter itself, which is just metal that goes in the cement. And then sticking through goes the cable, and then on the back side is another piece of metal that basically you know, abuts it. So if those cables are pulled, it has to pull the whole planter back.
Okay.
Right, and that's part of the safety feature.
Okay, so one of my design questions sort of related to that is you have the west end walled off completely, but that sidewalk there that people keep talking about, the sidewalk, that's actually the connection, that's a connection right between the Great Western and the Prairie Path. So you're going to have a lot of bike traffic theoretically that might take that crosswalk and then have to come all the way down to the other end and come in. Have you thought about that?
We have, and that's actually a flaw in our drawing because we need to put an entranceway right here.
Yeah,
so that people can come down the Great Western and get in here. The picture just doesn't really show it, but right here is, you know, we need an entrance right here. So that is what we would have.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I saw. Also, when you get to the eastern end of the property, it doesn't really show up well in your site plan, but the eastern end of your property, actually, that the triangle point of the wedge, as it approaches Cortese, actually juts beyond the sidewalk. The sidewalk cuts around it.
Right.
That's where you're putting your dumpster. And I know you have to put it somewhere, but that I don't like it there. I gotta be honest.
I don't like it.
Is there a solution?
When I went with the architect, because the garbage company has to come down and be able to pull that dumpster out to be able to dump it.
Right.
I don't like it here either. So, I mean, we're pushing it right to the corner. We're gonna use, you know, same or similar material that we're doing with the fence to try to blend it in there. I don't like it either, but there just isn't another good place for it on this property. So, I mean, this is kind of the best we can do next to the bike racks and whatnot.
Right. When I originally saw the plan you have here before the bike rack, my thought was, you know, maybe you do a bump out on the east end of the smaller building, and then you might have to roll it to the street on garbage days or whatever. But we have plenty of business owners that have to do that.
Sure.
But
so the problem with that, and I think if I understand your point, is you're saying put it over here, but this is where the kids come to order their ice cream.
okay,
So maybe I just don't understand.
Yeah, we don't really have. I guess that's the thing. We don't really have the floor plans that you're showing. We don't have those.
Right.
Okay.
So my understanding would have been that, you know, the orders would be taken on the south side of the building, but you're saying orders would be on the east end of the building.
Right. The idea is that you come in on the east, you place your order, and then, you know, order 21, chocolate malt, whatever, you pick it up at the service window.
Okay, so you've got ordering on one end and then moving around the
Correct.
building to pick up.
Right.
Okay.
This is going to be an open, like, wraparound window.
Okay.
And could a garbage truck, could the pavers withstand?
We would not want a
constant-
garbage truck driving on it.
No, I don't think
Yeah.
they could.
No,
Nor would
definitely
we
not.
want the garbage fence right next to where, you know, people are.
Right. Yeah. And
It's a, you know, in every building project, there's always something that you just kind of have to accommodate. And the best thing that we thought that we could come up with was fencing that off and just kind of putting it in the back right there, you know, in the corner. It's going to be the least trafficked spot. It's going to be where the bike racks and all the bikes are going to, you know, kind of be. So the best that we can, out of sight, out of mind. The best that we can.
So you're fencing off that corner there where the sidewalk comes in and then heads from the south and then heads east. You're fencing that off, and that's going to be where you want to keep the dumpster, right?
the dumpster is just in the corner. There's no fence south of the dumpster enclosure.
It's a drive.
There's no fence in the dumpster enclosure? I'm sorry.
No, no. The dumpster enclosure is in the northeast corner. The fence does not extend south beyond the dumpster is enclosed.
Right.
There's no fence on the east edge other than the dumpster.
Correct.
And you're putting a fence here where the sidewalk comes in and then goes that way?
No, I'm putting a fence from here to here.
Here's what I'm
But,
looking at.
yeah, you would be walking towards. You would be walking
Sidewalk
south
comes
on
here,
the
and then you're
sidewalk
gonna
towards the fence.
Walk over and hang on.
So the fence would stop right there.
At the sidewalk?
Yes.
Okay.
And the way that the property structure, it kind of meets right corner at the sidewalk, you know, like a
So
building
that
block.
sidewalk will be an entrance into your area.
Right, this is our only curb cut right down here, so you coming in
So
here.
essentially, this is an opening right here. There's no fence.
No, there is a fence right there.
Well, then, if this is Cortese, we're looking at it a little differently.
That's Cortese.
Right.
Your dumpster is gonna be right here.
Mhm.
And your fence ends right there.
At the grass, where the grass
At the grass.
meets the
And it
sidewalk.
abuts this dumpster.
The sidewalk makes two 90-degree turns. You come
Yeah.
south, you turn, you go east, you turn, you
So
go
he-
south.
That would not be an entrance anymore to the property. It would have a fence and butt off, and you'd have to go walk around all the way to Central to get into the property, right?
No.
Sorry, so then, yeah, all right. He's saying no, so it's not going all the way, the fence is not gonna go all the way to the end of their property, all the way to Central.
No,
The
it
sidewalk
won't,
on
because
Central.
it stops at the.
No, that's
the
not what
building.
I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying is it goes, just because the way the dumpster is in that corner, if you're walking south on the sidewalk on Cortese towards Central, you're gonna be walking at a dumpster enclosure essentially. I
Which
mean,
you
it'll be the
won't-
fence side of it. It's
Right, you won't
enclosed.
realize it's a dumpster
No, you'd be walking
necessarily.
towards a fence and then jog
Right.
and go around it.
Right, which you have to anyway, because that's the way the sidewalk goes.
Right.
So if you just follow the sidewalk, there will be no change in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
I think that's all my questions for the moment. Anybody else have questions?
I do. I'm curious how, or I wasn't able to, it wasn't readily obvious from the drawings, how is the food truck coming on and off of your property?
So
As big as it gets.
there is a curb cut. The
Okay.
only curb cut on the property is right here.
Okay.
So it would come in and then we would park it
Okay.
right here.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we would put the tables back all in.
Okay,
Right.
Yep, that makes sense.
Is that a planting bed in front of the food truck? That rectangle? It looks,
The
it
one that
says,
comes out like this?
yeah. it
No,
says-
it's just an architectural thing. It's identifying what these boxes are. It says
It's a note.
landscape,
Oh, okay.
landscape flower, bed fence table.
Got it.
So it's just a illustration, an explanation of the illustration.
Any other questions?
Question for Patrick.
Go ahead.
Has Moore addressed this at all? I don't think we've heard from them. Moore, with the parking? Do they have any issues with this? Have they addressed it?
I have not heard anything from Warbury, no.
I can
Okay.
speak to that.
What's
So
that?
I called Sonny at Moore, and I showed him and told him what, everything we were doing, and he said he loves the idea, he supports it, and his words were, anything I can do to help, let me know.
Question. So fence, the two issues I'm focusing on are clearly the two variances we're looking for. The fence is an aesthetic issue. So if variance was denied to that, because, just because you want it doesn't mean there should be a variance, that's not a big deal to you, really at all.
Sure.
Okay.
The question is, a 6-foot versus an 8-foot fence.
Just more privacy from the parking lot and back, basically, what it is, that's all you're looking for.
And then I guess eventually, from what I understand, is that the Gross family is gonna be building garages back there, as well. So, once they do that, I think the fence will be nice to kind of block the back of their garage.
That's all I want to know.
At this point, there have been no submittals for a garage back there. They did ask about it and wanted to know what processes they would have to take to do it, but we have not had any additional discussions about them adding a garage on the back side of their property, the south side.
All right. Any other questions?
I have one. So he would need, if he didn't want to go for this variance, he would need to have 5 parking spots on his premises, right?
Right.
Would the food truck count as a parking spot? I'm just curious. So 4 parking spots over on the far end?
No, it's not.
No.
It's not. It's not accessible. It's not proper lane width. No.
Okay.
Mike,
I'll
looked
add-
like you had some questions.
Well, me and Vince have been sharing some plans here. me personally, I would like to see at least 4 parking spots on the property. Unless the village can come up with a plan for the businesses in that area to accommodate parking. I've spent many days, many weeks, all hours of the day, night, in that area. I've watched one of your customers drive around for 25 minutes trying to figure out where he's going to park to pick up his pizza. It's, to me personally, it is an issue over there that the village or somebody within the village needs to come up with a solution, whether it be the business owners in that area get together with the village as a group and come up with some kind of a parking plan. But each business over there have different parking requirements as far as they're going to pull up for 10 minutes to walk in, they're going to pick up their pizza, they're going to leave. That type of parking, if he doesn't have that type of parking, he's going to lose business. And my thing is, I don't want to approve anything else for that area that's going to damage any of the existing businesses that are already there. We need to find out a solution that works for everybody over there. And bringing new business, I love your concept. I love everything about it. But we already have some issues that haven't been resolved yet. So me personally, I don't want to add to the issues unless we come up with some kind of a plan that's going to take care of it. Would the parking spots that we would require you to have, would that be really utilized for parking? Probably not.
How do you mean? I mean, if you require them.
No, that's...
I can't deny people, if you're saying I have to have these spots.
Correct. So what I'm really trying to say is I would love to say, yeah, let's do a 0 parking, but
it isn't, we have the license.
Well, it's not a clear solution to me for the piece of property. Mine, what I'm really looking for is a solution for the area in general. Because as the last one that we approved now has become a problem for all the other business owners. So now we go to approve another one. We're not sure, you might have more customers than you know what to do with.
That would be a blessing for Villa Park.
Correct.
And it would also
I agree.
It would bring revenue into Villa Park.
Correct.
And we will all work towards that end to make Villa Park accommodate.
So that's my whole deal right now, is that I need to know that somebody in the village, and I have several board members, the president, and everybody in the room that needs to be here, we need to come up with, and I know several of you have been over there different times of the day and seen the same thing I have. So I'm just looking.
Once they start music in the park on Thursday night, there will be no parking.
No, I understand that. But, so that's where I'm looking, is I need someone to try to resolve some of, I know we're not going to resolve it all, but we've got to look to work to make it a happy home for everybody there.
Before, if they could put in another 20 or 30 spots.
Or buy
It's my
them.
understanding that the parade path, 10 feet on each side of the parade path, is owned by the parade path, and the rest of that property is village property. I may be wrong, but that is what I was told. So to me, there is room there.
I appreciate your comments, but we are in our questions. And do you have any further questions, Mike?
No, I would agree with, in between your two buildings, I have no issue with the 8-foot fence, but east of the last, where the actual office building was, I would like to see that I would be more happy if it was just only 6 feet. And I have a hard time with the trash where it's located.
Yeah, we can discuss that in comments.
Yeah. Other than that, no, that's all I got.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, we'll move to closing comments from the petitioner. If you've got anything you want to say,
Sure.
now's your chance.
So, a question that I don't think really directly has been asked.
If you could step to the mic,
Sure.
please. I know you, but we are on TV,
Yeah,
so.
no problem. So a question that hasn't directly been asked, which I think should be asked, is one of the Director of Planning and Zoning, Patrick Grill. Patrick, my question for Patrick would be, does Patrick think there is a parking problem in Villa Park, in this area? May I ask him that question? Okay. So, Villa Park is a growing and dynamic community. We hold ourselves out. We hold ourselves out to be one of the 10 best places in America to raise a family. Villa Park is going through some growing pains. I live in Villa Park. I own property in Villa Park. I'm part of those growing pains. I want to help resolve those growing pains. But Villa Park, it wasn't just created and, all these parking spots and everything was just planned by the, whoever created the town back in the 20s. It's going through growing pains. We can solve these growing pains. If there's enough business, we can fix anything. If there's a will, we can fix anything. I want to be part of that fix. I don't want to add to the problem, but I want to be part. I want to fix it. I want to come up with solutions. We are coming up with solutions. But it's short-sighted and narrow-minded to say, let's put a prohibition on doing any more business in Villa Park until we solve this problem. I say, let's join as a community and get together and go through the growing pains and support each other and push good business and good families and have a community space together. This is our community. This is our town. Let's not stifle what is becoming a wonderful town. Let's not stifle what is one of the 10 best places to raise a family. Let's give a family place to Villa Park. That's what I'm asking for here. This will be a wonderful place. And we've heard from some extremely articulate, bright young people. And I'm just thinking employment opportunity here. I mean, this is our future. These kids right here, they want this here. Their parents want this here. This is what we're about. This is why you guys put in all the hard time and thankless hours into being on commission, being on board members, going through this, because you're part of this community with us all. And we appreciate, even if you don't hear it enough, that you do spend this time and you do have this consideration to make Villa Park better. Every one of you want to make Villa Park better. If you didn't, you wouldn't be on this board. I want to make Villa Park better. They want to make Villa Park better. Everybody here wants to make Villa Park better. With more business, more money, we can make Villa Park better. Let's keep working at it, but let's not stifle what is growing here. We're on a trajectory for success. Let's keep the focus on success. This is part of Villa Park's success.
Okay, with that, we're going to close the public hearing, move into discussion by commission members. As I mentioned earlier, since the post office was up for sale, I've thought about this area a lot. It would have been nice to see that those two properties work together in some way. With a, I believe, is a business office, right? Engineering office, moving into the post office. It's not necessarily the ideal use in terms of that I would have chosen, but I'm glad somebody is finally doing something with it. I know that was a tough piece of property. This piece of property is even tougher. It's a wedge that's not useful for a lot. I've been on this commission for about 10 years now, Vince. A lot longer than that.
Yeah.
But if even 5 years ago, somebody had said, we're going to have a parking problem on Villa Avenue, I don't think anybody in this room would have believed that was going to happen. So things that are happening on Villa Avenue are positive. This is, in my opinion, it's a very positive use for what's a very tricky site to work with. I understand the parking concerns. I go to Villa Avenue, I pick up pizza, I go to Moore, I'll even admit I go to Unicorn Comics every now and then. And my wife works up the street at Cornerstone Books. So, Pioneer, I know a lot of people that have businesses on here. I don't want to see anybody's business get hurt. But the other side of that is, as a planner, there is a sweet spot in parking. Having lots of available parking means you're doing it wrong. Go to downtown Naperville, downtown Elmhurst on a Friday night and try to find a parking spot in front of the business that you're trying to go to. You will not find one. You could drive around for a half hour and a parking spot will not open up. Now, they've built garages, they've done other things to alleviate the parking, but it draws the parking away from the central area. People have to walk to the businesses, and then they spend more time there because they're on foot. We're used to having Villa Avenue and Villa Park as a community be a completely drivable community. And that Villa's not going to work that way and be a successful business community. You can drive near your business, but to expect to park in front of it on a business strip like that is just not realistic. I know some people don't want to hear that probably, but that's my opinion on it. The question is, do we have enough parking capacity in the area? I think we do. I haven't done a parking study, but I've never gone there and not been able to find a parking space. I may have had to walk 500, 600 feet to get where I wanted to go. And I think there are more solutions the village can do. Most of those are above our pay grade. Sure, we can brainstorm ideas and come up with ideas all day, but it's up to the village board and engineering to figure all that out. So generally speaking, I'm in favor of this project. I don't have an issue with the parking. I do have an issue with the 8-foot fence, particularly on the east end. When you're requesting a variation, part of that is proving that you have a hardship, that the site is unique. I believe the site's unique. But saying that you want it because it looks better, or that's not really how that works. And for me personally, I think if I'm walking south towards Central on Cortese, looking at an 8-foot fence versus a 6-foot fence, it's going to make a big difference, especially as you approach it and round that corner. So that's my take on that. I would be okay with the fence, the 8-foot fence between the buildings. I kind of understand the aesthetics of that. I sort of understand creating a room, basically an outdoor space. I heard mentioned from somebody else when they heard this project, said, oh, it's going to string outdoor lights, and you're like, maybe. And you've got a fence and you create a little outdoor room in that area around your food truck. There's a lot that you could do to really draw attention without being gaudy or cheesy. I really do like the idea, and I applaud you for doing what you've done with this site. And I've spoken a long time, but that, if anybody else has comments or discussion.
Well, you pretty much said everything I was gonna say. You know, I'm in agreement that it's a much better use for the property. I'm tired of looking at that awful eyesore. And I would venture to say that Elmhurst, Lombard, Naperville, all those communities, all the downtowns, until they put in their garages or raised a building and made a parking lot, they all suffered. I was raised in Elmhurst. As a kid, couldn't park. You know, you had to drive around or illegally park. So, yeah, I'm in favor of it. And I agree about the fencing. 8 in the middle, 6 on the side.
Mr. Chair, you've indicated that
Go ahead. I mean, we're in our comments, but go ahead.
Propose the question that my client asked to Mr. Brill, that you would.
Oh, yeah, I will. Yeah. Anybody else have any other comments?
I'm on the side of, I don't see the need for the variation at all for the 8-foot fence aesthetically. I don't see that. But the one thing I will say about the parking is with the addition of the new parking on Park, that was done as a fall, so we really don't know how much that will alleviate yet. And I've got the impression that it's kind of new along Central now too. So there is new parking that has not been taken into account for neighborhood traffic flow. The seasonality stuff, the music in the park, I mean, those are always going to be crowded. The fest, that's always going to be crowded. You can't, that's never going to be good. That's never going to be good. But, and you're targeting a lot of bike traffic too, which is alleviating cars. So I would be okay with the variation on the parking, but I don't see a need for it on fence. That's where I stand. Okay.
I also am not in favor of the fence. I think as soon as kids start to figure out that there's cameras on the property side, that's going to be a great place to hide, is behind the fence.
Well, just so you know, the 6-foot fence along the entire property line is permitted as of right.
Nope, that's fine. I'm just saying 8 foot is just going to make it a little bit more.
And you would be against 8 foot on any portion of it, both?
On any portion of it.
Okay.
So a lot of my friends, I have some friends who play at Demitos from time to time, and I had occasion to look for a parking spot at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, and I found a place in the post office lot illegally, twice illegally. It was an illegal parking spot and an illegal parking spot in there, I know, sorry. It was a church group too. And so I didn't get a ticket, but 3 of my friends got tickets. A couple of people left because they couldn't find a parking space. Whether it was an illegal spot or a legal spot, with the post office going, I'd be more in the camp of it's about a break-even point if we've added new spots and we've lost the illegal, however used, post office. I'll ask the question of Patrick. I still see a parking issue in downtown Villa Park. Do you?
Whether there's a parking issue or not a parking issue is more about perception, I think, than anything else.
Well, it's a reality when you're driving around, but yes.
Right. No, but I don't know of any time when it's really busy, say a Saturday night, that there aren't spaces available that you have to walk to. And you might have to walk 500 feet. But we're so used in the suburbs to being able to park right in front of our place of business that we want to go to. And for decades, that has not been an issue in the South Villa District area. Now that we have more successful businesses down there, we've reached a point where it's more difficult to park right in front of the businesses that we want to. But you almost have to equate it with, say, in the mornings and the evenings at rush hour. The expressways cannot accommodate the amount of traffic that's trying to utilize it at those particular times. But you don't build a 12-lane highway in each direction because you don't build to accommodate the worst case scenario. You build to accommodate the 75% scenario, understanding that at times when it's really busy or really popular, that it's going to be difficult to find a parking space. And maybe we were approaching that, but at the same time, the village is desperately seeking out other places in that area to park.
Are they, Patrick, I'm sorry, are they also looking at temporary parking in front of Michael Anthony's Pizza? 10-minute, 15-minute limited parking?
Well, it was my understanding that we had a plan that all the businesses owners supported, and that's what the village did.
Okay.
Other comments? Discussion?
I think I've made most of my comments. I really want the business owners and the village, whether it be village staff, village board, business owners, to figure out what's necessary to accommodate the majority of the needs moving forward. I love your concept, but what I look at for myself sitting up here is if I approve 0 parking for your business, and then the next guy that comes in, he's going to want 0 parking for his business based on, well, he got it, why can't I have it? Can't keep approving 0 parking requirements. That's all I got.
Okay.
I'm going to just throw a quick, little off-topic statement out there, but the new post office is the engineering firm. Has there been any, because clearly that's not going to be a nighttime business. So has there been any discussion that maybe you could use it at night? Does that come up at all?
The discussions that we've had with them is that it is their desire to place a fence around the property because they'll park their vans, which are full of technical equipment, and they aren't willing to share that parking in the back, even in the evenings.
I have a couple comments. The 8-foot fence, I'm fine with it between the 2 buildings. 6 feet to the east of the furthest east building. The other thing that I'm having a hard time with is I think you could put parking on there. You might not be able to fit 5. It looks like you could fit 4. I think you have to have, I'm not comfortable with parking being an issue. I'm not comfortable with you not having parking at all, especially when you have the ability to have it. So I think you could fit 4 from the east building to the trash corral. It would eliminate those tables you're talking, and maybe it couldn't be 4, maybe it could be 3, but I think you need to share in the problem.
You're saying here where the tables on the bike rack are?
Yes.
And
I think that's
how would they be positioned?
I would think that the cars would be straight in, the bike rack would be eliminated and then, or not eliminated,
relocated.
but relocated.
I think that's a bad idea.
That is true.
I see it being chaos.
Yeah.
You got kids running
There's
around
gonna be
here.
children on the property.
I mean,
Well-
I could see it if we're going to move to saying that they should have parking, then I would rather see head-end parking on Central.
Yep. Or Cortese right there, just add on 4 more spots or 3 spots to the end.
Head-end parking on Central, that's
Or
interesting.
on Cortese, because once you start
Right here.
putting cars across the end of that property, no bigger than it is,
Put 'em right here.
you're going to have the same issue that always occurs at Dairy Queen, where you have cars trying to get in, cars trying to get out, cars backed up onto St. Charles, kids trying not to fall off the sidewalk onto St. Charles. kids crossing traffic to get to the limited eating area, eating area there is. And I'm not talking just kids, I'm talking, you're
But
gonna
it's
have.
not really
you're-
St. Charles Road. I mean,
No,
we are
it's-
talking.
It's not St. Charles
Central.
Road, I understand that, but you're gonna have cars trying to back out from here as people are entering here to try to get, it seems not a great solution to me. I mean, I could see head-in parking on the east end, theoretically. I mean, there's probably room to do head-in along Central.
Yeah. Well,
to some degree.
If you head in
right
along
here.
Central, you're
Can
gonna
you
be
still
across the
measure
parking lot.
Your drawings? I know you're looking
Yeah.
at something small.
No.
No, that can.
The lot measurements.
It's
I
147
see it
and
with
25.
vehicles.
This is 16 feet. Mine is 9.7 feet
Right,
with
so
the
that's-
dumpster. So you're looking at 7 feet to get a car in. And then you're looking here, from here to here is 28.6 minus 12.
What's the distance from the building
This
to,
building?
from there to the end of your property line?
I mean, that, on this end, you could barely put illegal. What do we, Patrick? We have what, how deep do we require a parking spot to be?
9 by 18. With a 24-foot drive aisle.
Can there be no
Is that-
consideration for the fact that this is such a small lot,
Well,
and so odd shaped?
Well, I would
I mean,
say
it-
that if you, 3 spots on a lot would say your employees park there, Mr. Pillar's accommodated for that already.
Right.
What the church is allowed.
So that's-
So he's sharing in part of it. He's made arrangements to share in some of that already.
There are engineering standards just like there are building standards, and you don't vary those.
Right. Because if you vary a 24-foot drive aisle to 20 feet and 2 cars run into each other,
And then it's just not the size, so they don't
You're messing with the
right.
period. I mean, I
Right.
can't make it, I don't have it.
Either that or we buy the property. from
This
them
is the hard
and
part.
Put it in a garage.
This is the hardship.
That's the hardship, because of the way that wedge is on the end.
And I'm guessing the prior business didn't have this issue because they had no seating.
Right.
And they were a car-related business.
Right.
so.
Okay, so,
So, back to my comment, I don't think we made an effort to try to find some kind of parking here. I think most of your activity is gonna happen between,
how much space
The-
is there, sorry, how much space do you have between the east end of the building and the?
54 feet
It's 54 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
East end of the building.
to the property line, 54.
See, on the east end of that, it's not even deep enough to put a legal parking spot.
Yeah, but it's 16 plus the trash corral,
Well,
it's, so trash corral's what, 9? So you're.
I just, I hate that idea.
Yeah.
As a planner, I hate everything about that. I would rather see the village find a way to create 4 more parking spaces somewhere than to try to jam 4 on there and create a site that doesn't work.
Well,
A site that's not, that won't be safe,
you know,
and
I-
a site that is,
if this were my site, you know, if this were my development, I'd want to do exactly what he's doing. Because it's beautiful. Anytime you don't have to accommodate cars is a great thing. Life is good. But that's the problem we're talking about. I mean, the fence, I think we could all agree on the fence. There's not an issue there. It's just the parking, and I think, the way I would like to see this go is you accommodate some parking, and then if the village were to increase the parking in the area, some way, somehow, then your parking could go away or something like that. I know the other businesses in the area don't have parking of their own. They have access to lots. So technically, you may be able to work out the same deal as them and have your customers park in that parking lot.
I'm at parity with them.
We've already negotiated a license for employee parking. I don't believe any other businesses have negotiated licenses for employee parking.
So they have enough parking to accommodate their employees only.
No,
And
no,
I have
I'm,
enough parking to accommodate my employees. We're at parity. It's
yeah, but
the same.
they're kind of grandfathered in. They're an existing business. They were buying into this whole thing before, you know, the area started to bloom. I can't just say, you know, what they have, you know, they've lived with it. So, you know, I want to support them as much as I want to support you, because 10 years from now, you know, there might be a change, and you'll be sitting on this side of the aisle, and you're gonna want consideration, you know.
I don't think I will.
There-
I will want business. I will want.
We have business.
I understand that, and I agree with the, you know, I mean, we're all in agreement that a parking problem's a good thing. I said that years ago when Demito's wanted to go in here. You know, I said it would be great if we have a parking problem. So here we are with a parking problem. Life is good. We can't, just so you guys know, we can't have parking lots all over, because if businesses start to go away, then we have parking lots, and it will pull away from your business. It will not attract your business. It's kind of a better thing to have a little bit of a struggle, and I think Michael Anthony's is the one who struggles the most, because people want to park, run in, and leave. So,
And they now have 30-minute parking in front of the.
and that might be too long. You know, it might have to be 10 or 15.
I think
You know,
there's 2 15-minute parking spots
So-
there as well.
so getting back to you.
Parking right here.
I mean, if there's a way, Patrick, if you guys, has engineering or anybody looked at this site for on-site parking?
It's not our job to design a site.
No, but I'm saying, I mean,
It's not staff's job, it's not engineering's job. We have a job up here. It's to either
That is
approve
correct.
these variations or
We do
deny.
not-
I hear you. I'm just
We
saying,
do not
has
design
anybody
sites.
had any recommendations? I mean, because the parking issue is a problem. Has anybody said, you know, he could get 3 spots on there, he could get 4?
No, because it's not staff's job to design a site for a developer. We review it based on our standards, but we don't design it for them.
And I'm sure Patrick has made suggestions at times, not necessarily with this, but when it makes sense.
Right.
But we could sit up here and try to design it for it. We can vote on, we've got 2 variations, we can vote on together, we can vote on separately. Or we could say there's consensus up here that it's not going to pass, come back to us with a different plan. But I don't think I would vote for a plan that tries to throw parking on this site that we draw up tonight. It's not something that I would do. I don't know if there's room for head-in parking, or if the village would permit that, because it would require curb cuts to do head-in parking. That puts them, it's not even something we could design tonight and vote on.
Well, you know what then? Here's kind of where I'm at, and maybe you take a consensus with the group. This works for this building, especially with the post office gone. It really, now we have this weird parcel. I mean, I like the use, I like, you know, it just brings a lot of energy. I think when the dust settles, we'll all be happy that you're there, including the existing businesses. What I'd like to see is you taking a run at getting some parking on this. I think you could arrange the east side of your lot, because to me, the activity is going to happen between those 2 buildings, within the building lines. And it's not necessary that people are ordering from the south, or excuse me, from the east, you know.
But they are.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not necessary. I know that's the way you have it drawn, but we're taking a gas station. We could get a little...
Then where do you suggest I put the bike rack?
I don't know. I would like, what I think is, I think the bike rack is huge, first of all. I'd like to see You know, your bike rack could go against the planters, something like that. I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna, we can't design it, and I'm the last person that should be designing it anyways. But,
No, I think I need to be the last person. But I have a comment I'd like to throw you in. If he does put a few parking spots down on that east end, and he's got 3-4 spots right down there, then he's going to have to put up signs, because that's his property. He's going to have to enforce that. Everybody's going to want to park there and go to the surrounding stuff as well. So we're going to have a parking problem for him because his patrons will be able to park there because everybody's going to be parking there to walk down here and walk down there.
Well, you know,
So
that's
we're
just kind of the flavor of the area. I mean, people
so
are
we're gonna,
parking
we're
behind
going to cause
buildings.
a parking enforcement problem for him when parents want to come pick up their kids or do something like that. They can't go in there. So maybe we should have like a 15-minute sign up there for him too then.
Well, you know, here's kind of where
I'm just
at
proving a
with
point
Let
that
me put up signs here that just say, park on the other side of the parade path. Ride your bike. Walk here. Don't drive.
That's his clientele
Here's
anyway.
Let's
He's trying to
do
get
it.
kids.
Let me anger people who drive to my establishment.
I know.
And let me put a sign that says, don't drive your car.
I appreciate your comments, but we are,
right.
So here, I'll just tell you where I'm at.
So
I'd like to see him
Let me
take a
let me
run.
say one thing though.
Okay.
So we are worried about parking. I understand that, and we would all like to see parking added. Some of us want to see parking on the site, but the reality is somebody is not going to be parking in front of probably just blanked on the name, Michael Anthony's. I wanted to call it Marco Anthony's for some reason. Michael Anthony's. Somebody's not going to be parking in front of Pioneer to walk down here.
Exactly. Yes.
They're going to park on Central, maybe on Myrtle or Cortese if there's parking available, or west on Central. Your parking at Demito's that's on your site is marked, correct?
I will leave work on Friday, and when I get to Ardmore and Kenilworth, there are groups of people walking. We have people on feet, we have people in cars. People for all the businesses are parking past your property.
Right, but what I'm saying is people are not going to park up there to walk down here.
I see people
Right.
walk out of my parking lot and go into more. It's
Correct.
obviously an issue all over the place. We all share the same
But
issue.
is it an issue? Because people are just hear me out. Is it, no, I'm not trying to cut you off, but just hear me out. Is it an issue? Because people are parking at Moore and then walking over to your place. Or people are stopping to get a pizza at Michael Anthony's and walking over to Moore to get beer to take home with them. Or they're going to Pioneer and they're picking up a pizza at Michael Anthony's and then coming to your place to eat the pizza. I'm just saying that's what you want. What you don't want is somebody parking in front of your place. Maybe you do, but as a village, no, I don't mean you. I just mean an individual business owner. What we as a community don't want is somebody parking in front of business A, walking in, getting their stuff, walking out, and driving home. We want them going into business A, walking from their car to business A, past business B, C, D, and E, and hopefully stopping in 2 or 3 of those on the way, or even just 1, or just knowing that that business is there. You could go to Michael Anthony's, park in front of Michael Anthony's, drive off, and never know this place is there because you don't have to walk past it. Or not know Unicorn is there because you're driving looking straight ahead, you get your pizza and you're gone. If you don't want those places to disappear, you want a critical mass of people there. That's what drives business. Now, whether there's a parking issue, we have to decide.
Well spoken, Jason.
But that's the way I see it. And on this site, I don't see how we drive parking.
You asked me if there's an issue. Walkability right now is not an issue. There are X amount of people that are in this area with X amount of parking spaces. Whether they're parking in front of Mahoney's and walking by us and walking by all the stores on the way over, or if they're parking in my parking lot and walking by all the stores all the way over to Michael Anthony's. Walkability is not an issue. The problem is there are X amount of people coming to this area,
Right.
and there are X amount of spots.
Right, and that's a problem that,
I get out
as a
of work,
village, we have to
It's
solve.
not 500 feet. It's not 600 feet. It's not 1,000 feet. People are parking down the street illegally, all the way down Kenilworth. Not even where there's parking spots,
Right.
all the way down.
But I
When
see
get
it.
to
I
our
live
door
there every day. I see
Okay,
it.
we can't talk over each other, I'm sorry.
Kenilworth, there are groups of people walking out of their cars. It's not 500 feet, it's not 600 feet. It's 3 blocks down, people are parking.
And that's what
great,
it may
but they're not
be.
walking by any businesses on their way over. They're
That-
walking by a
We,
3-4 blocks of
we
homes.
can have different opinions on what drives business, and we've had similar conversations, not you and I, but as a community when it comes to signage. Some businesses think they should be able to have all the signs they want. Some businesses think they should be able to put a sign in the middle of the street if they want. And as a community, we have to decide what that standard is. And for me, I do go to these businesses. I go to this neighborhood on Friday nights and Saturday nights and when events are going on. And sometimes, yeah, I have to drive around for 5 or 10 minutes and find a parking space. Sometimes I have to go a couple blocks down into a residential neighborhood and maybe somebody doesn't like it that I'm parked in front of their house. But it's a legal parking spot and I'm quiet and I go get my stuff and I come back. And it's not, can we do better as a community? I hope so. That's what, but this is the kind of use that all the plans that we work for, I mean, I don't see any, I don't have an issue with it. That's, and I know you want to comment, and I appreciate that, but we have to kind of try to keep it up here and get this wrapped up, or we'll be here all night debating this.
When did we open Central Parking?
Central parking?
Yeah,
Patrick,
parking
when
on
did, that was parking along Central, when, how recent is that?
Very recent.
Like days, like a month or so?
Yes.
Okay.
And I do think there are ways that we could probably squeeze some more street parking. Like, I don't know if it would gain more spots, but I was noticing we park on the west side of Myrtle, but there are like 4 or 5 curb cuts there. There's 1 curb cut on the east side of Myrtle. We've made, Myrtle's a little shorter there, but we may be able to squeeze a couple of more parking there. And it moves those parking spaces out from in front of the residential when most of those probably are not being used for the residences. Those are the kind of things where I think that as a village, we might be able to squeeze out a few more spots just by paying for some signs. You know, I didn't do the math on that to see if that actually adds spots or not, but it's worth looking at. You have a quick comment?
Yeah, if you could just maybe, like I said, the 321 apartment building where you did put in that parking, it needs to be publicized that that is for the village.
Yeah,
Or
and
for the-
and what-
I don't see it there.
What we all as a community and business
Because I think
community,
people assume that's apartment
yeah,
building.
what we have to remember is how long has Moore been there? A year.
But they're
Once,
not
one
pioneering.
season. And in planning terms, 1 season is nothing. It's gonna take us, I know, every business wishes they had parking right in front of their business, and every business wishes they had as many signs as they want. But we can't do that in downtown Villa, because that's how we kill the area.
I don't know if you know this, but Moore, this year, downtown Chicago, out of 250 breweries, their beer came in number 1.
That's good.
You thought that this year was busy for Moore?
Right.
That's great. I loved it. If we had enough parking for everybody.
Right.
This first year, they were busy. Let's
So,
try year 2, 3.
and I'm sure,
Listening from Megan, who is not a property owner and
I-
does not live in Villa Park. I think that's important.
I don't think that matters.
No, he's complimenting her, saying
sorry.
she's not a,
Yeah.
We shouldn't have gone in there.
she's the type of person we want to attract, somebody who's
Yeah.
coming from out of the town.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood your comment. I think.
No, you didn't. She doesn't own the meters. She's a manager of the meters.
My mom owns the
Right.
Yeah.
So
So,
I think that-
okay, the public comment is done. And unless I call on you, we're done with that. We're getting a little back and forth here that I don't like.
Back to us.
Yes.
You know, I've weighed a few things in on this,
Take a class
and
on
It did get a little heated, but I agree that there really isn't a place for parking. The clientele that he's trying to pull in, most of them don't need a parking spot. They're going to be bike traffic. They're going to be on their feet. They're going to be people walking, running. A lot of kids that don't drive. We saw a slew of them just come up and tell us, hey, I don't drive. Every single one of those kids said, I don't drive. So why do we need parking for his clientele when there's so much street parking on Central and Park Boulevard? So
It's
that's
kinda-
my thoughts. That's my feelings. I think we can go the way it is, 8 feet between the buildings, 6 feet to the east, and call it a day.
Okay, so
I
here's
would
what
love
here's what we've got. We've got two variations. As they're written, the petitioner is requesting a variation for an 8-foot fence along the entire property line. My understanding of that is, I don't believe anyone here is in favor of an 8-foot fence along the entire property. Is that correct?
Nope.
So
8
we
foot
have
between the buildings.
So we have.
It's fine.
Maybe what else we got up here today? 8. So I'm missing somebody vote, but I have 2 that would like to see 6 foot along the whole thing at least. And I think we've got 6 in favor of. I'm just
8 and 6.
doing a consensus. It's not a vote, but I think we've got 6 in favor of an 8 and 6 split. So I think if we voted tonight, which I think we probably will, if we have the right motions, that's what we've got for that. On the parking, where do we stand right now?
I don't think it's a problem. I think it's a good thing if
I
there
agree.
are
I
enough
think, I think
spots.
we have to take into account that his clientele will be heavier on the foot traffic, bike traffic, and maybe reduce the,
Yeah.
not
I'm against the idea
officially,
of
not
putting,
officially.
I'm against the idea of putting extra parking on the lot.
Yeah.
No offense, but it just, it spoils the Quixotic idea of it. It's an idealistic thing, and putting parking on it kind of diminishes that a lot.
I think it's been accommodated already for
Yeah.
the church parking.
Okay, so here's what, we could do this 2 ways. We can break the variations up into 2 variations, vote on them. Or we can combine them into one if we think, but I would need, for the first variation, we'd have a variation for maximum permitted height, permitted fence height from 8 feet, or from 6 feet to 8 feet. For the, let's say, what's the distance between your buildings?
$26.5.
26, okay. So we would have a variation from the maximum permitted fence height from 6 feet to 8 feet for the 26.5 feet between the 2 buildings. That would be the first variation or first part of the variation.
Mhm.
And then we have a variation to require minimum parking from 20 spaces to 0 spaces. So I would entertain a motion or motions, depending on how anybody wants to make them.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, hang on. Patrick's got, Patrick's,
Variations cannot be conditioned. So if it's going to be your intent to allow him to have an 8-foot fence between the buildings and then drop it down to a 6-foot fence, he has to be willing to stand here in front of you and modify his request.
Okay.
You won't so modify. I move to modify my current request to allow for a variance between the 2 buildings at, I believe it was 24.5 feet?
26.
26? Or 26 and a half feet between the 2 buildings. A variance requesting a change from a 6-foot to an 8-foot fence between the 2 buildings. And then to the east of the smaller building, 50, whatever feet it is, would then be a 6-foot fence. No variation on that, just according to what's currently in the books.
and this is good, Patrick?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as the petitioner is willing to modify the request, then yes.
Okay.
All right, I'll do the motion. I know how we're gonna do this. All right, I'll make a motion to approve application PZ 18-0004 for a single request that include a variation to the maximum permitted fence height from 6 feet to 8 feet between the buildings on the furthest east and furthest west and middle east of the lot. 8 feet of 26 and a half feet long on the north side of the property, with the following conditions: that the site be developed generally as shown on Exhibit A as submitted by the petitioner. 2, that the fence be erected generally as shown on Exhibit B to the height 8 feet with the finished side facing north, with a finding of fact that such variations meet the standards enumerated in Action 6.7.b of Appendix C of the Municipal Code of Village of Villa Park zoning ordinance.
That's good. We have a variation, a motion for variation. Oh.
It needs to be as modified by the petitioner.
Okay.
Not as included in Exhibit B, because Exhibit B shows it as the entire length being 8 feet in height.
Okay. Let me correct my motion. I'm just going to read that one part.
Okay, that's fine.
To approve the request that include a variation to the maximum permitted fence height as modified by the petitioner from 6 feet to 8 feet.
Well, the first part was is when you got down to the conditions, where you said the fence be erected generally as shown on Exhibit B.
Oh.
What it should be is the fence shall be erected as modified by the petitioner.
All right, sorry. With the following conditions, I'm going to amend number 2, that the fence be erected as modified by the petitioner to a height of 8 feet with the finished side facing north.
Good. Okay, so just to clarify, we have a motion to vary the fence height from 6 feet to 8 feet for the 26.5 feet between the two buildings. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second on that motion. Roll call vote. Jackson?
Sure.
Orlowski?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Bello?
Yes.
Lenanga?
Yes.
Rickel?
Yes.
Romano?
No.
And I will vote yes. So with that will pass to the village board. We're a recommending body. They can accept, reject, or modify the proposal. So then we have the second variation in front of us for the required minimum parking from 20 spaces to 0. I would entertain a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve application PZ 180004 for the request that includes a variation to the required minimum parking spots from 20 spaces to 0 spaces. With no conditions, finding the fact that such a variation meets the standards enumerated in Article 6.7.b of Appendix C of the Municipal Code of the Village of Villa Park, Basic Planning and Zoning Ordinance.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Any questions or comments on the motion as read? None? Roll call vote. Jackson?
Yes.
Orlowski?
No.
Gatto? I'll give you a minute. Bello?
Yes.
Lenanga?
Yes.
Rickel?
Yes.
Romano?
Yes.
Gatto?
I'll abstain.
I will
Yeah,
vote.
me.
I will vote yes. With that, our recommendation will pass to the. Please hold off on the applause. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but we'll pass the village board. They can accept, reject, or modify our recommendation. One comment in closing. I've never seen so many kids turn out for one of these things before, and I guess ice cream gets them out here. But to those of you that are still here, and for the ones that come and gone, I'm glad to see you come out and participate in just democracy. And it's rare we even have people here, but to have kids here is almost unheard of. Thanks. Yep. So that is that closes the public hearing for this evening.
No.
Patrick, do we need the court reporter for the other petition? Okay. Okay. We are still conducting a hearing here, so if you've got conversations, please take them to the sides, outside, please. Thank you.
How many meals did you get? Just and then I'll tell you this, if it wouldn't have passed, I would have voted for it. I would have voted for it because I think it's a good project.
That is. Our next order of business before you tonight is a request from the petitioner related to the Buc-ee's PUD at North Avenue and Ardmore Avenue. They have been diligently closing on the property, getting it cleaned up, but they have run into certain issues with the demolition and the need to do some asbestos removal, and so they are requesting a 6-month continuance for filing their final PUD plat. We do have, there's a letter in your packet from Richard McMahon requesting this, and Matt Atkins from Buchanan Energy has graciously sat through the previous public hearing and is here to answer any questions that you might have about the request.
Any questions or comments on the petition to extend the PUD for 6 months, correct?
Correct. Our ordinance requires that the final PUD be submitted within 6 months of the village board approving the preliminary, and that would happen sometime in May. But they know that they're not going to be in a position to be able to file that final by that point in time, so that's why they're requesting the 6-month continuance. Yes.
Can I just read this?
Sure.
Make a motion?
Yeah, I entertain a motion.
Yeah, I would move that we approve a petition PZ 170016 and extend the final PUD for Buc-ee Station located 5 through 55 East North Avenue by another 6 months.
I second that motion.
Right now, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None.
Do you want more?
We should.
You dressed up.
We should have done that
Yeah.
first.
Hey, it looks really nice over there. It looks really nice.
Yes, that's my job.
It's good in there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd want to walk on it.
Okay. So we need Patrick next year, I guess.
No.
So I think we have at least one commissioner comment. So
sorry.
Patrick.
Yes.
Upcoming public hearings, none?
Actually, we did have a submittal come in today. It is for special use for the Chinese Bible Church that's right across the street here on St. Charles Road. They just recently purchased the building. They've probably owned it for about the last 6 months, and they've been going through a lot of issues, moving from their current location in Oak Park, moving out here, deciding exactly what they wanted to do with the building, and they do want to do an addition, but because they're changing the footprint of the building, they're going to have to come back in with a new special use, and we'll have that. No, it is not zero parking.
What building?
The Chinese church right across the street.
It actually is 24 Princeton, but it's the northeast corner of Princeton and St. Charles Road. It's right across the street. The big A-frame chapel.
Okay. There was a fire there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, we'll have that public hearing in May.
That was Harvard something, wasn't
Briefing
it?
on,
Princeton and St. Charles.
it's the A-frame church.
Yeah, I thought that was called like Harvard, something, or was it?
No, it was purchased by the Chinese Bible Church.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I would like to, at this point, introduce Village President Al Baltus. He has a request for a few of you as it relates to your appointments and reappointments to the Zoning and Planning Commission.
Yeah, a minute. I'll add one other thing. The village is aware of the parking issues in the area around Villa. We're working diligently on trying to solve that problem, but it's not something we can wave a magic wand. And we talked to other property owners there, and they have to think about it, get back to us, but we have expanded the parking on Central, on the south side. We're looking at expanding parking west of the museum lot, make that a little bit bigger, but some of that property is owned by the Prairie Path, by the county, so it gets into that too. So we looked at Cortese on the east side, just north of Central, to put some head-in parking there, so but it doesn't allow enough room for the street to get fire trucks down there and that type of thing.
One way, is there enough room on both sides?
That's a problem.
There's not. It's only like 24 feet wide or something like that.
Unfortunately for us, we're landlocked.
Yeah, we looked at all the possibilities, so we're still working on it, though.
The one thing that we don't want to do, though, is, not that anybody does, but adding surface parking. I mean, I know what we're doing along Central is okay, and we're not downtown Evanston, but in the 50s and 60s, they wiped out about 40% of their downtown trying to throw in surface parking to make room to save all their businesses, and it took them 5 decades to catch up from that. So
walking isn't a bad thing to do if you're looking for a place. When Moore does their opening or whatever, they're parked all the way down to the BFW post.
Yeah, my neighbor walks from my house down Addison.
Okay, well, the reason I wait here, the commission terms, some of your commissioners here are expiring. I'm trying to get a sense of who would like to continue, and the expiring ones are Vince, Ken, Jason, Mike, and Morgan. I think you're on the other page, though. So I would need to know if you gentlemen and ma'am would like to re-up. I don't need to know right now, but if you could let us know relatively soon.
Put me down as yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd love
Yes.
to see
Yes.
what happens.
You sure you want me?
You guys need to go, right?
I think he might be thinking yes.
But you can put me down for a yes if you'll take me.
Michael is yes.
Morgan is yes.
Yes.
Morgan was yes.
Yes, please.
We had to find out when you were originally came on the commission.
Do we know that now?
We did. We went back through all the old agendas, and we found.
Finally, I
it.
just started
Luckily,
showing up.
It wasn't me, the secretary.
I just started showing up
so.
and sitting up here.
Okay, that's it.
Hang on.
So we only have one that we need to know about yet. So.
Do we have any commissioner comments at this time?
All right, I have two. One is I was able to work with Patrick Grill, and this came up with dumpsters. Maybe sometime down the road we should look at trash enclosures, because as people are going to paperless, maybe we could kind of have a rule in there that gives us flexibility, so small businesses aren't putting in huge trash corrals. If they're, in this particular instance, it was a bank where all their paperwork gets shredded and hauled out by a carrier, and they were going to have a couple trash enclosures on their property. So just maybe if we could revisit that. I think times are changing. It would be nice to either see what somebody else is doing or make the rules ourselves. So that's one. And then the other one is I believe it's the June 14th meeting will be my last meeting.
Don't say it.
No.
Don't say it.
I feared this day for the last year or so.
Sitting next to you.
We sold our house, but I want you guys to know I've sat on this board a long time with Mike, Jason, you know.
Robin.
And the short time I've been with you guys, it's been great, and of course, I think staff is outstanding, but.
Yeah.
If you want to extend me until June.
Check it, okay.
If you want to extend me until June, otherwise
You
if
know what
it's
they
a
say about
hassle,
assuming.
cut me off wherever you want. But,
So we'll go to 27th
yeah, I
to
worked
29th.
with these guys on the comp plan, the TOD steering committee, the zoning ordinance update, so. We've been on a lot of committees together in addition to planning and zoning, and I just want to say that, you know, I came here thinking that I had a lot to offer and I had a lot to give, and I almost think I took away more than I actually contributed. You know, there
Nah.
were days where we would leave, and I thought we did some great things for the village, but there really are some great people up here. I think Jason brings a wealth of experience. Mike with his time with the town, and just all of us with the different jobs and the way we do things, and it's been a privilege. So I really appreciate it. I'm gonna miss you guys.
So
We're gonna miss
I
you.
know Mike and I have been on here for 10 years with you. 10 years this May.
When did?
How long were you on before that?
I was on 5 years. I was 15 years. 2003.
2003.
So you sold your house. Where are you moving to? Down south?
We are moving to Naperville.
Okay.
Step down.
I would.
His wife's moving to Naperville.
I know.
Vince will be out of state.
So
No,
that,
we're not.
I just want to
Gotta
let
go
you
to
know,
the building.
I sent you an email, Al. I wanted to let you know,
They've got to bring it back to us.
at the beginning of the week, I wanted to get in front of you and talk to you before tonight.
Before we formally adjourn, I do want the minutes to show that you've been awesome, and nobody has a love of trash enclosures quite like you. From the first hearing, it was, where's the trash enclosure? Is that the best place for the trash enclosure? But somebody has to think about those details, and you deal with them on a daily basis, so.
No, I know we debated
We're gonna
the
miss
front
you.
and backs of buildings a long time.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's always been healthy. Always been healthy.
Very instrumental in the signage issue. We went to that a number of years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Property owner, it was really helpful to me.
Yeah.
To the whole commission.
All right, before we adjourn this thing, any other comments? Comments before we adjourn?
Do we get a hug?
Motion to adjourn?
I